So you're here because you want to speak English better. And let's face it, you're probably busy juggling a lot.
Right. You want to make the most of your learning time, get results fast.
Exactly. So this deep dive, it's all about giving you really practical, effective ways to boost your speaking quickly.
Yeah, we're going to dig into some, well, really powerful advice, stuff you can actually use. It's based on that YouTube video, 58 minutes straight of powerful English speaking advice by J. Forrest English.
It's a long one, so we're kind of extracting the key bits for you, saving you, well, almost an hour.
Precisely. We won't hit every single detail, obviously, but we're focusing on the core strategies, the things that really, jump out.
And the video mainly looks at two big areas, which we'll use as our guide. First, how to actually practice speaking.
And second, some key principles for just having better conversations, like right now with the English you already have.
Yeah. So the goal is you finish this and you have concrete techniques you can start using, well, today.
And maybe a clearer idea of how to make real progress, And also maybe how to avoid some of those common traps that learners fall into.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Let's get into it then.
Okay.
All right, so let's unpack that first big idea, the power of practice. And this is key, I think, even practicing when you're totally alone.
The video uses this great analogy right at the start, learning piano.
Oh, yeah? I like that one.
You can watch videos, study theory, listen to amazing pianists, but are you actually playing?
No, you're not. You have to actually touch the keys.
Exactly. And it's the same for language. You need that active output. Grammar rules, vocab lists, they're helpful, sure.
But they're not speaking.
You're not speaking. To get fluent, you absolutely have to, speak.
And the video tackles that awkward feeling head on, doesn't it? Feeling self-conscious, making mistakes.
Yeah, it says that's not failure. It's actually a necessary part of learning, like hitting wrong notes on the piano at first. It's how you figure it out.
Right, and it challenges that idea that you need someone else there to practice.
Totally. Like a pianist practicing scales alone, that's still practice. It builds skill. Speaking aloud by yourself, same thing, builds skill, builds confidence.
And he gives some really simple examples like prepping for job interview questions out loud.
Or even just, thinking through how you'd order coffee or ask for directions.
Introduce yourself, stuff you might actually need to do.
And the point is, you're always available to yourself, right? So there's really no excuse. There are always little moments.
Always opportunities.
Oh.
Okay, so how do you actually do this solo practice without it feeling, weird or boring?
Good question. The video suggests 3 fun and, importantly, free strategies. First one, random question generators.
Okay.
Websites that just throw questions at you, any topic. Your goal, try to speak for 1 minute on each question.
Oh, I like that. Takes away the what do I talk about problem completely.
Well, you just react.
Yeah.
Instant mini speech practice.
Cool. What's number 2?
Number 2 uses AI, specifically ChatGPT. He even gives a prompt you can use, something like,
hang on, let me see. I want to practice speaking English. Write a dialogue where you provide only one part of the conversation so I can respond to practice speaking. Something like that.
Exactly that. And the video actually shows it in action. ChatGPT gives a line, you speak your response aloud.
And then the AI responds to you, like a real conversation.
Pretty much. It asks follow-up questions, it keeps going, it's dynamic, unpredictable, you don't know what's coming next.
Wow, okay. That's clever. Much better than just reciting things.
Definitely. And the third strategy is super simple. Just narrate your day.
Like talk about what you're doing as you're doing it.
Yeah. Making tea, planning your tasks, whatever. He says even making tea can be 5 minutes of practice right there.
Okay, I can see that. Just getting the words out.
And the key thing here is the content doesn't matter so much. It's the act of speaking English aloud that counts. Getting your mouth moving, your brain thinking in English.
So if you add up like a few random questions, bit of ChatGPT chat, narrating, making breakfast,
it starts to add up. The video argues you could easily hit an hour a day without too much trouble.
And an hour a day of actual speaking practice. That's going to make a difference. A big difference, probably.
Absolutely. Huge potential for improvement in skills and confidence.
Okay, so that's practicing. But what about when you're actually in a conversation? The video moves on to that next, right? How to communicate better with the English you have now.
Yes. And this isn't about suddenly knowing tons more words. It's about how you interact. Step 1 is crucial. Active listening.
Ah, yes. So easy to drift off, isn't it? Thinking about what you're going to say next while the other person is still talking. I definitely do that sometimes.
We all do. But the video points out if your mind's wandering, you're missing stuff. And then it's hard to respond well, confidently.
So how do you listen actively? What are the tips?
Really practical things. Focus on the speaker's lips, their eyes, their face, their body language. Be fully present.
Just tune in more completely.
Exactly. And an interesting side effect is when you really listen, questions naturally pop into your head. Things you want clarified, things you're curious about.
So it helps you avoid those awkward silences too, because you actually have things to ask or say based on what they just said.
Precisely. And, active listening, it's not just good for your English, it's good for all your relationships. Big takeaway there.
Definitely. Okay, so after active listening, what's next?
The next idea is great. Be interested more than interesting.
Ooh, I like that phrasing. Say more.
It means shifting the focus. Instead of trying so hard to impress the other person with your stories or your brilliance.
Which can feel like a lot of pressure.
Totally. Instead, show genuine interest in them. And the easiest way to do that?
Ask a question.
Ask questions. Simple as that. The video uses that example of someone coming back from a trip to Texas. What would you ask them to show you actually care about their experience?
Right. Not just, was it good, but more specific things.
And it suggests a technique. Think in categories. For a trip, maybe categories like transport, food, weather, activities.
And then try to come up with a few questions for each category.
Exactly. Gives you a mental toolbox for generating good questions and keeping the conversation alive.
That's really useful. So lots of questions, show interest, but you probably need to share a bit too, right?
Oh, for sure. It's about balance. Ask, listen, share your own related thoughts or experiences. It's a two-way street.
Got it. Which leads to the third step for better communication. Structuring your ideas.
Yes. Structure. It sounds a bit formal maybe, but the video argues it makes you sound more fluent, more confident, more professional, even with simple language.
Like how most things have a structure. A book, a movie, even a casual story usually has a beginning, middle, end.
Exactly. So apply that to your speaking. Have an introduction, just something to set the scene. Tell the listener what you're about to talk about. Can be super casual, like, oh, let me tell you about my trip.
Okay. Intro. Then the body.
Then the body. That's where you share the main points. And the video has this neat trick. Use the why questions, who, what, when, where, why, how, to help you generate content.
So for the Texas trip, you'd think, who went? What did we do? When was it? Where did we go exactly? Why was it memorable? How did we travel?
Exactly. It gives you instant bullet points to talk about, helps you elaborate naturally.
Smart. And then?
And then a conclusion. Just signal you're finishing up, a quick summary, or even just, so yeah, that was basically my trip. It gives closure.
Intro. Body using why questions.
Right.
Conclusion. Simple structure, but makes a big difference in clarity.
Huge difference. Makes you sound organized and easy to follow.
Okay, brilliant. So we've covered practice and general communication skills. Now, the video gets into the nitty-gritty, doesn't it? How to speak English so well that native speakers are genuinely impressed.
Yeah, polishing the edges. It offers 9 specific tips for this. Tip 1, master the basics.
Seems obvious, but probably overlooked.
Very much so. Correct sentence structure, basic grammar. Even small mistakes can sometimes cause confusion. But it's not about knowing everything.
Right, he mentioned focusing on the common verb tenses.
Yes. Like 6 tenses make up something like 96% of spoken English. Master those first. Don't stress about the obscure ones initially.
Good advice. Tip 2.
Use contractions. Things like don't, the video stresses these are grammatically correct and totally natural.
Makes you sound less like a textbook, more like a real person. How's it going? Versus how is it going? Big difference in flow.
Exactly. Which leads nicely into tip 3. Connect your words.
Linking sounds together.
Yeah. Avoid pausing between every single word. Listen to how native speakers blend sounds.
Yes.
How's it going? Becomes almost one sound. It's about fluidity.
Okay. Number 4.
Use idioms and expressions. Just sprinkle them in naturally. Don't overdo it, but a few common ones make you sound more native.
Like I'm beat for tired, or you mentioned you rocked it.
Yeah, you rocked it for you did a great job. Great idiom. Using these adds color.
Tip 5.
Phrasal verbs, those verb plus preposition combos like get up, look into, turn down.
Oh, these can be tricky, but they're everywhere in English.
Absolutely everywhere. And sometimes, like the example getting off the bus, there's just no better way to say it naturally. Avoiding them can sound awkward.
Okay, number 6 was about stress.
Syllable stress, crucial in English, changes the sound and sometimes meaning. His example was banana, stress on the second syllable.
Right, not ba-na-na or ba-na.
Exactly. The advice is, when you learn a new word, learn where the stress goes.
Makes sense. Tip 7.
Vary your tone, intonation, the music of the language, how your voice rises for questions, falls for statements.
Avoid sounding monotone.
Yes. Record yourself. Listen back. Does your tone match the meaning? But don't go overboard and sound, overly dramatic, just natural variation.
8 was body language, right?
Yep. Nonverbal cues matter a lot. How you stand, gestures, eye contact. Again, maybe record yourself on video to see what you're actually doing.
And the last one, number 9, was surprisingly simple. Just smile.
Yeah. It literally changes the tone of your voice, makes you sound friendlier, more approachable, even works over the phone, apparently. Practice smiling while you practice speaking.
9 great tips there for really refining your sound.
Definitely. Things to work on once you've got the basics down.
Now, the video then shifts gears a bit, doesn't it? It looks at the common struggles people face, things that hold them back.
Yes, very important section. He shared results from a poll he did. 61% said speaking was their biggest challenge. That's huge.
Wow. And what were the top reasons people gave?
Number 1 was lack of vocabulary, 42%. Then feeling shy, nervous, or scared, 36%. After that, incorrect pronunciation and lack of grammar knowledge, around 10-11% each. And finally, just lack of practice.
Okay, let's tackle vocabulary first, the biggest one. Does he agree people just don't know enough words?
Well, yes and no. He acknowledges it's a factor, but challenges the perception that you don't know enough. He asks you to think how many words you understood just watching his video. Probably thousands.
Good point. You often know more than you think.
And he points out native speakers use a surprisingly small core vocabulary day to day. You don't necessarily need super advanced C1 words for most conversations.
So the pressure to learn fancy words might be misplaced for everyday chat.
Exactly. Simpler words often work perfectly fine. The key tip he gives is learn phrases, not just single words. Phrases you can use immediately.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the second biggest issue? Feeling shy, nervous, scared.
The emotional side. The video is quite direct here. It says, look, these feelings are normal. They probably won't vanish completely.
So what's the advice then?
Speak anyway. Speak despite the fear. Action and practice are what reduce the power of those feelings. Even pros get nervous.
So the antidote to fear of speaking is speaking.
Pretty much. Consistent practice builds confidence and lowers the stakes over time.
Okay. Then lack of grammar was mentioned. People worried about mistakes.
Right. And the video emphasizes, in real life, it's about communication, not perfection. Native speakers make mistakes all the time.
True. You hear it constantly if you listen closely.
So don't let fear of errors paralyze you. His practical tip: record yourself. Listen back specifically for your common grammar mistakes. Pick one area and focus on improving that.
Targeted improvement.
Yeah.
Rather than worrying about everything at once.
Exactly. And remember, people aren't usually listening with a grammar checklist. They just want to understand you.
Good reminder. What about pronunciation problems?
This one is important for being understood. Clear pronunciation matters.
How do you know if yours needs work?
Signs might be people often asking you to repeat yourself, or maybe they guess where you're from very quickly based just on your accent. That might indicate some non-standard sounds are interfering with clarity.
Okay. And the fixes.
Things like using audio dictionaries to hear correct pronunciation, listening carefully to native speakers, and doing shadowing practice, repeating what you hear as closely as possible.
Shadowing. Yeah, I've heard that's effective.
It can be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next one, lack of practice. This often comes with excuses, right?
I live in a non-English speaking country. I have no one to talk to. I don't have time.
Exactly. The video takes a pretty direct stance here. It basically calls these out as excuses, not real barriers.
Ouch. A bit blunt.
Maybe. But the point is, many people do succeed despite these circumstances. It is possible. You just have to find ways like the solo practice methods we talked about.
So it's about challenging that mindset, believing it's possible, and committing to even small amounts of daily practice. Like 2 minutes.
Even 2 minutes is better than 0 minutes. Consistency is key.
And that links to the last point, lack of time.
Which the video reframes beautifully. It's not usually a lack of time, it's a lack of priority.
So be honest with yourself. Is English really a top priority right now? If not, that's okay.
It's totally okay. But if it is a priority, then you need to consciously make time for it. Look at your schedule, find slots, adjust things.
It's about making deliberate choices based on what's important to you.
Spot on. Be realistic, be honest, and allocate your time accordingly.
Okay, that covers the main struggles really well. Then, to wrap things up, the video warns against some common but ultimately bad advice you might find online.
Yes, this is so important. Things to actively ignore. First, Trying to memorize all the grammar rules, all the tenses.
We already touched on this. Focus on the common ones.
Exactly. Native speakers don't use them all frequently. Master the core 5 or 6.
Bad advice number 2.
Memorizing random vocabulary lists, just long lists of unrelated words.
Right, not practical. Learn phrases for situations instead.
Much more effective. Third piece of bad advice. Feeling you must replace simple words with advanced C1 vocabulary all the time.
Makes you sound unnatural sometimes, right?
It really can. Everyday words are fine for everyday conversations. Save the fancy stuff for when it's actually needed and appropriate.
Okay. What else should we ignore?
The belief that you cannot make mistakes, that pressure for perfection.
Which just causes stress and stops you speaking.
Totally counterproductive. Mistakes will happen. Accept it. Learn from them.
And the final horrible piece of advice.
Waiting until you're ready to speak.
I'll start speaking when I know more, when my grammar is perfect, when I feel confident. Trap.
Exactly. It leads to endless studying, endless input, but no output. The advice is crystal clear. Start speaking from day one. Use the English you have now.
You're never finished learning a language anyway.
Never. Embrace being a lifelong learner and just communicate. Connect with people using the tools you currently possess. Don't wait for some mythical future point of readiness.
Brilliant. So that really covers the core messages from that Jay Forrest video. A lot of actionable stuff there.
Absolutely. The big picture is you can make significant progress. It comes from consistent, smart practice.
Not just any practice, but smart practice.
Right. And focusing on clear communication strategies rather than getting hung up on perfection or following bad advice.
So you listening now, you've got the tools, you've heard the strategies, from practicing alone effectively to engaging better in real conversations.
The techniques are there. The next step is yours.
Yeah. So maybe a final thought to leave you with is this. Just pick one thing.
Just one.
Yeah. Which one strategy or tip from this whole discussion are you going to actually try in the next 24 hours?
Could be trying a random question generator, or maybe focusing on asking more questions in your next chat. Or even just narrating making your coffee tomorrow morning.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
just choose one small thing. Reflect on what you're doing now and make one small change based on what we've talked about.
Because that first step, that small action, that's often how real lasting improvement actually begins.
Okay, let's dive in. You know that feeling, right? When you've learned all the English grammar, but then you hear people actually talking. And it's different.
Oh, absolutely. It's a classic frustration. You know the rules, but understanding like a fast conversation or just sounding natural yourself, that's the tricky part.
It really is. Feels like you're always playing catch up.
Yeah, traditional methods don't always connect those dots.
Exactly. So that's why this deep dive feels relevant. We're looking at a transcript from a YouTube video, Smartest Route to Get Fluent in 2025, from Jay Forrest English. Jennifer's the expert there.
Right. And the idea isn't just to summarize it.
No, definitely not. We want to, unpack why her approach might actually be smarter. What are the key takeaways for really getting fluent?
Well, the first thing that jumps out is her focus. She calls it learning real English in a real context.
Which immediately says, okay, maybe less textbook, more life.
Precisely. Moving away from kind of artificial exercises towards how the language is genuinely used.
And she starts this with listening exercises, but they're not just tests.
No, not at all. They're springboards, really. She uses these short, everyday sentences to explore, everything at once. Pronunciation, vocab, grammar.
Even cultural bits.
Yeah, exactly. Let's take her first one. Is Tuesday doable?
Okay, yeah. Simple sentence. Is Tuesday doable? What does she pull out of that?
Well, first, pronunciation. She notes you might hear Tuesday, but recommends learners aim for the standard American Tuesday.
Okay. So acknowledging variation, but suggesting a standard target. That makes sense.
It does. It gives you a clear goal while making you aware of, other possibilities you might hear. Then the word doable.
Meaning achievable, right?
Yes. And she points out it's often used in the negative.
Like trying to finish that huge report by Friday just wasn't doable.
Exactly. That's a very common way you'd hear it. But then she also gives a positive spin.
Oh, yeah.
Becoming a confident English speaker is doable, which is, encouraging.
That's a nice touch.
Yeah.
It shows the flexibility of the word and gives that practical, stick in your head context.
Context is everything. Then she moves on. Dinner's ready. Let's dig in.
Okay. Sounds simple again. What's the lesson here?
Well, contractions first off. Dinner's for dinner is let's for let us. Essential for sounding natural, as you said.
Definitely. You almost never say let us in that context.
Right. And then the phrasal verb dig in.
Meaning start eating, basically.
Yeah.
Very informal.
Very informal. And she points out the sound linking how dig in often sounds like digging.
Ah, that connected speech thing, where the words kind of flow together.
Exactly. That's a huge part of understanding native speech flow. And
Yeah.
it can be tough for learners initially. She gives examples, too.
Right.
The food's getting cold, please dig in. Pretty casual. But also, before we dig in, let's take a moment. Slightly more formal setting, same phrase.
Okay, showing its range. And she mentions it's just for meals, right? You would say dig in to start a meeting.
Haha. No, definitely not. Those context clues are vital. Next up, mark my words. I'll get it done.
Ooh, that one sounds more intense.
It does. It's got some weight to it. And again, multiple layers. Pronunciation, I'll, for I will, and that soft ud sound in get it.
Right, and she mentions the very informal get her done.
Yeah, and clarifies that the error isn't actually her, it's just how it can sound sometimes in fast casual speech.
Which you hear a lot, and it could definitely confuse you if you're not expecting it.
For sure. Then the meaning. Get it done. Just completing a task, usually one that's obvious from the context.
And mark my words, that's the strong part.
That's the emphasis. It means I promise, or I'm absolutely certain this will happen. She links it to the future simple tense, I will, often used for promises.
So it reinforces the grammar in a real phrase.
Exactly. And her example, you shouldn't work with them, mark my words, shows how forceful it can be. It's not just a guess.
No, it's a conviction. Okay, last one in this first batch.
We need to up the ante.
Okay, this sounds a bit more like jargon, maybe. Figurative.
It is figurative, yeah. Common in certain contexts. Pronunciation points again. Need to often gets reduced. And the before ante has that long E sound, the ante.
Because ante starts with a vowel sound.
Right. But the main thing is the meaning. Up the ante. It means to increase the demands or the risk or the investment, usually hoping for a better result. Think negotiations.
Ah, okay. Like if a union asks for a 2% raise and the company refuses, the union might up the ante and demand 5%.
Perfect example. That's exactly it. Jennifer also mentions the past tense upped and how that ed ending sounds like a soft T.
They upped the ante. Yeah, those past tense sounds can be tricky.
They really can. And she points out it's not just unions, partnerships, job offers, any negotiation really. It broadens the context.
So learning these phrases isn't just vocab, it's understanding context, pronunciation, even grammar.
That's the core idea, multi-layered learning from real examples. And right after these, she stresses something crucial: imitation.
Makes sense. Hear it, understand it, then try to say it yourself.
Exactly. It's moving from passive listening to active production, trying to mimic the sounds, the rhythm. That's how you internalize it. It really helps lock it in.
Okay, so after those initial examples and stressing imitation, where does she go next?
She levels up the listening, moves on to using short clips from TV shows and movies.
Ah, so even more authentic, faster speech.
Exactly. More challenging, but closer to, real-life conversations or media consumption. The first clip example is, Claire, let's get a move on.
Right, sounds very natural, very quick.
And she breaks down why. Again, the contraction, let's, the imperative verb, it's an instruction, and the sound blending.
How does that blend?
Get often becomes geta, and move on can sound like move on. These little blends make speech smooth and fast.
Let's get a move on. Yeah, I can hear that. And the meaning is just hurry up, basically.
Pretty much. Begin moving faster, start going. Similar to hurry up, maybe slightly less abrupt sometimes. The examples she gives, like being late for a movie or the deadline approaching, make it really clear.
Very relatable situations. Okay, next clip.
Just give me a shout when you're done.
Another common one. What are the takeaways here?
More sound reduction. Give me often gets squashed into gimme.
Yep, hear that all the time.
And the possessive your, when it's unstressed, can sound like your when you're done. Small things, but they add up to that native sound.
Okay, and give me a shout.
Means call me. She clarifies that shout here is used as a noun, meaning like a phone call or just letting someone know.
Not literally shouting at them.
No, definitely not. And it's often used with when clauses, like in the example. Plus she covers done, meaning finished or complete. Simple, but essential.
And the examples. Finishing a report, landing after a flight. Yeah, makes sense. Give me a shout when you land. Okay, what else from the clips?
A really short one. Sorry, give me a SEC.
SEC meaning second.
Exactly. SEC. Short for second. We see gimme again. And she explains that a sec doesn't literally mean 1 second. It's informal for a short period, maybe a few seconds, maybe a minute or two.
Right, like, can you hold on a sec?
Precisely. Or if someone asks you something while you're busy, just give me a sec. Examples like needing a moment to find a file or texting back, give me a sec if you're running late. Super practical.
Very useful little phrase.
Yeah.
Okay, last one from the TV movie clips.
This one focuses more on sound blending again, and I still haven't figured it out.
How does that blend?
Figured it out often runs together, figured out.
Figured out, yeah, it does. Like one long word, almost.
And recognizing that block of sound is key for comprehension, especially when people speak quickly. The meaning itself, figure out, means to understand or solve something.
Pretty straightforward meaning.
It is. But then she digs into the grammar. The present perfect tense, like asking, have you figured it out yet? And the negative, I haven't figured it out.
And she highlights, still, in the example, right? I still haven't figured it out.
Exactly. She points out the nuance between using still versus maybe yet. Still emphasizes that the process is ongoing, maybe implies some difficulty, or that it's taking longer than expected.
Ah, right. I haven't figured it out yet.
Right.
Sounds a bit more neutral, maybe. Whereas still adds that layer of ongoing struggle.
Kind of, yeah. It emphasizes the duration. Her example of working on a software bug fits perfectly. I still haven't figured out what's causing this bug.
Makes total sense. Okay, so these clips really push the listening skills further into recognizing natural speech patterns.
Definitely. It builds logically from the simpler sentences. So after drilling down on listening, Jennifer introduces another technique.
What's that?
Combining reading and listening, using a news article as the source material.
Oh, interesting. So you see the words and hear them at the same time?
Exactly. And the topic she picks is pretty engaging. How are the pyramids built?
Cool topic. How does she use it for learning?
Well, she starts right with the headline, uses it to teach question structure. She points out the direct question form. How were the pyramids built? With the verb before the subject.
Okay.
And contrasts it with how you'd phrase it in a statement or indirect question. I wonder how the pyramids were built, where the order switches back.
Ah, that subject-verb inversion in direct questions. That tricks people up a lot.
It really does, so it's a great point to highlight right away. She even throws in the present perfect version. Have you ever wondered how the pyramids were built? Just weaving in more grammar naturally.
Nice. What else from the article?
She pulls out the phrase again and again.
Meaning repeatedly.
Yep. And gives examples to show its use, like practicing something positive again and again for a test, or maybe a slightly frustrated use, like having to ask someone to do something again and again, shows the different feelings it can convey.
Right. Context matters.
Always. Then she gets into the article's content. Pyramids as amazing feats of engineering, architecture.
She mentioned pronunciation there too, didn't she?
Yeah, for architecture and architect. Common, tricky words. She also touches on the difference between are considered and are regarded as, subtle but useful for higher levels.
Okay. And the pyramids themselves.
She highlights their age, the mystery, uses the phrase to this day.
Meaning even now or still true now.
Exactly, like the mystery remains unsolved to this day. Or her example, I still don't know why he quit to this day. Emphasizes the unresolved aspect over time.
Got it.
She then introduces come about.
Meaning something happened or started.
Right. How did this problem come about? And she flags the word known in oldest known man-made structures.
Ah, acknowledging we might not know about even older ones. Yeah. A little bit of precision.
Exactly. Then the basic theory of construction. Carving stones, dragging them, lifting them. She defines drag, pulling something heavy along the ground.
Like telling a kid, don't drag your coat on the floor.
Perfect. And then crucially, she uses the transition word, however.
To signal a contrast, right?
Yeah.
Introducing other ideas.
Yeah. Precisely. She points out how important these transition words are for making your English flow logically. However, introduces the fact that how the stones were moved is actually under great dispute.
Meaning there's a lot of disagreement.
Yep. No consensus. She uses the word baffled, confused, talking about historians, and countless years, just meaning a very, very long time.
So lots of vocab being introduced through the text.
Loads. Then controversial hypotheses. She explains hypothesis versus the plural hypotheses.
One theory versus multiple theories.
Right. And under debate, similar to under dispute, specifically about the workforce. Was it slaves? Or were they skilled workers who were paid?
The whole work for a salary idea versus forced labor.
Exactly, a major historical debate. Then she introduces a useful phrase for stating facts. What is certain is that?
Like, what is certain is that we need a better plan.
Perfect. And she offers the shorter alternative. Certainly we need a better plan. Finally, she defines workforce, all the workers, and notes the pyramid workforce was highly organized.
Wow. So that one article becomes a vehicle for grammar, vocab, pronunciation, transition words, and even history.
It's a really rich way to learn, pulling multiple threads from one authentic source.
It really seems like it. Okay, so after digging deep into that article method, what's the final part of her smartest route?
She shifts to something very practical, learning full common phrases for everyday use.
Like conversational chunks.
Exactly. Her point is that learning these whole phrases can often be more effective, especially for fluency, than just memorizing single words. You know the whole unit and how to use it.
Makes sense. So what kind of phrases does she cover?
She gives 12 really common ones. First, do you want to grab a coffee after work?
Okay, super common invitation. Grab, meaning get something quickly, casually, usually food or drink.
Right. Then, you bet, just a casual way to say yes, definitely, or absolutely.
Simple and useful.
Then, keep me posted, asking for updates.
Like, let me know what happens.
Exactly. Number 4, I'd better get going. Polite way to say you need to leave. She notes it's, I had better.
Good grammar point.
Then, when do you want to head out? Head out meaning leave. Just another casual way to ask.
Okay.
6, I'm short on time. Meaning you don't have much time.
Yeah.
And you can be short on other things too, right? Money, patience.
Good point. I'm short on ideas.
Yeah. 7, I'm here if you need me. It's a nice offer of support.
Lovely phrase. 8.
I'm all ears. Means I'm listening intently. Tell me.
Ready to listen. Got it.
9, can we take a rain check? Polite way to decline an invitation now, but suggest doing it later.
The rain check. Classic.
Yeah.
Let's play it by ear. Meaning let's be flexible, decide as we go, no fixed plan.
Very useful for social plans.
11. Hang in there.
Yeah.
Encouragement to keep going through a tough time. She mentions the old motivational post.
Yeah, hang in there with the cat. I remember that.
Exactly. And finally, 12. Take care. Common, warm way to say goodbye.
Okay, so 12 really practical, everyday phrases you can just learn and use.
Exactly. Learning them as complete units helps you sound more natural faster. So quite a comprehensive approach she lays out.
It really is, covering multiple angles.
Okay, so let's just recap the main threads here. We looked at Jennifer's smartest method from J. Forrest English. Big focus on real English, authentic materials, real context.
Right, not just abstract rules. Then we saw how she breaks down even simple listening exercises, pulling out pronunciation, vocab, grammar, usage nuances.
Yeah, like with doable or dig in. Then leveling up with TV and movie clips, focusing on that fast connected speech, the sound blending, the reductions like gimme or figured out.
And that combined reading-listening method with the pyramids article hitting question structure, vocab and context, transition words, all that.
And finally, those ready-to-use everyday phrases like keep me posted or let's play it by ear.
Exactly. The whole approach seems geared towards practical application and understanding English as it's actually spoken.
So for you listening, hopefully this dive gave you some solid, actionable ideas, maybe a deeper feel for how complex yet learnable spoken English is.
Yeah, seeing the different layers.
Which leads to maybe a final thought. Looking at all these techniques, Jennifer suggests the deep dives into short sentences, the movie clips, the reading while listening, learning whole phrases. Which of those feel like it would give you the biggest boost right now in your English learning?
That's a great question to ponder.
Yeah, what resonates most? Maybe you'll check out J. Forrest English for more, or look for similar resources. But the key thing is figuring out which of these smart methods fits your style and needs, and then, actually doing it consistently.
That consistency is always the secret ingredient, isn't it?
It really is. Find what works for you and stick with it.
Welcome to the deep dive. Look, you're here because you're serious about really pushing your English forward in 2025.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're aiming to help you with today.
We've been digging into some really useful stuff from Jennifer at J. Forrest English, specifically her video, How to Learn English in 2025.
Yeah, we've gone through the transcript pretty carefully. And our mission really is to pull out the most practical strategies she shares.
We want to give you things you can actually use, like right away, to get closer to fluency.
Exactly. Actionable methods.
Okay, so let's jump right in. Jennifer kicks things off saying, basically, the #1 best method. It's learning from natives in real-world situations.
Right. She argues it helps improve everything, listening, speaking, vocabulary, the whole package all at once.
And the exercises she suggests really put that idea into action. They're designed around authentic language.
Yeah, that's what's great. You're not just doing textbook drills. You're hearing how people, in this case celebrities, actually speak.
So you get the grammar, sure, but also the natural vocabulary, pronunciation quirks, even a bit of culture.
Precisely.
So the first type of exercise is about listening, using clips from celebrities. The setup is listen 3 times, fill in the blanks.
And then she breaks it all down, the vocab, the grammar, how things sound.
Let's take the first Taylor Swift example. The sentence is, no matter how hard you try to avoid being cringe, you will look back on your life and cringe retrospectively.
Okay, so grammatically, the key thing Jennifer points out is avoid plus the gerund, avoid being cringe.
Right. That's a pattern you see a lot. Avoid doing something.
Yeah, she mentions use avoid with a noun, like avoid the traffic, or this ing form, the gerund, like avoid making mistakes.
And her explanation of cringe is really good too. Defines it as, embarrassing or awkward. And gives that example, oh my God, it was so cringe, which makes it clear.
Yeah, very relatable. She also separates the phrasal verb, to look back on, meaning reflect, from the actual verb, to cringe.
Which is like that physical reaction of embarrassment, like this.
Exactly. And then retrospectively just means looking back, thinking about the past.
Synonyms like in hindsight are helpful there too.
Definitely. Then there's the second Taylor Swift sentence. Cringe is unavoidable over a lifetime. Even the term cringe might someday be deemed cringe.
To be deemed, that's a useful one. Means regarded as or judged as.
Right. Her example, colloquial language is deemed slang by some, clarifies it.
And you also get the grammar. The modal verb might plus be deemed, showing uncertainty, like maybe it will be considered cringe later.
Yeah, it expresses that possibility.
The last Taylor Swift bit is short. You can't avoid it, so don't try to.
And the it there, Jennifer clarifies, refers back to being cringe, reinforces that grammar point again.
So the overall takeaway from Taylor Swift, just embrace being cringe.
Yeah, it's kind of a freeing idea, isn't it? Especially when you're learning a language and worried about mistakes.
Totally. It makes errors seem like just part of the deal, not something to freak out about.
Exactly. So moving on, the next section focuses on learning from interviews and speeches, analyzing natural language again.
First up is Donald Trump answering a question about Hillary Clinton. What's one thing he admires?
And the quote is, I will say this about Hillary. She doesn't quit. She doesn't give up. I respect that. I tell it like it is.
First thing Jennifer notes is pronunciation. I will becoming I'll. Super common in spoken English.
Crucial for understanding, yeah. And the phrase, I'll say this about, it's a common way to introduce an opinion, isn't it?
Yeah, like here's my take on this, or here's what I have to say.
Then she looks at quit versus give up. Subtle difference.
Right. Quit often means leaving a job or stopping for good. Give up is more like losing hope, surrendering.
The examples she uses make that distinction quite clear.
And talking about I respect that, it links to Hillary's determination, her persistence. Gives you some good adjectives.
Determined, persistent, yeah.
Then the colloquialism, tell it like it is.
Meaning being direct, straightforward, maybe even a bit blunt.
Yeah, honest, sometimes brutally so. Her example about commenting on someone's accent fits that.
So Trump's advice in a nutshell, don't quit, don't give up. Pretty direct itself.
Okay, next is Oprah Winfrey from a commencement speech.
The line is, there is no such thing as failure. Failure is just life trying to move us in another direction.
Pronunciation point here. There is becomes theirs. Standard contraction.
And the expression, there's no such thing as, just a way of saying something doesn't exist.
Right, like failure isn't real, essentially.
And the vocabulary, to go in another direction, means changing your plan or approach.
Her example using the J Forest channel instead of a school makes it relatable for learners.
Yeah, clever. And Oprah's core message, failure doesn't exist.
It's powerful stuff. And you see how much language learning you can get just from unpacking these short clips.
Absolutely. And it's not just language. It's these little life lessons embedded in there too, which helps it stick, I think.
Definitely more engaging. Okay, so the next big area Jennifer tackles. Phrasal verbs.
The bane of many learners' existence. Yeah, she really stresses how important they are, but also how easy it is to mix them up.
She goes through quite a few, focusing on how the little preposition changes everything.
Exactly. Like call someone out, confronting them, criticizing, versus call out to someone just shouting to get their attention, totally different.
Right. Her example about students calling her out on typos is funny too.
Then there's jump in, like joining a conversation positively.
Compared to butt in, which is rude, interrupting.
Or even out, like telling someone to stop intruding. Different levels of intensity there.
Yeah, nuances are key. Then come up with, like, thinking of an idea.
Versus come out with introducing or releasing something, like a product.
The Apple iPhone example she uses there works really well to show the difference. Idea versus launch.
And it continues. Back out of deciding not to do something you agreed to.
Versus back something up, like your computer data. Very different, very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then you've got the catch ones. Catch on to something means starting to understand it.
Okay.
Catch up to someone means reaching their level. And catch up on something means doing work you missed.
Wow, yeah. 3 distinct meanings there. Easy to see how that gets confusing.
Totally. She also covers get across, communicate successfully.
Cheer on, encouraging someone, like at a game.
Versus cheer up, making someone feel happier.
Then carry on, meaning continue despite problems.
And carry out, which means completing a task. She notes the grammar too. Carry on with something, carry something out.
That's helpful.
Then look into something, investigate. Versus look over something, review quickly.
Okay.
Check in with someone, just seeing how they are. Versus check up on someone, which can sometimes mean monitoring them, maybe a bit suspiciously.
Ah, right. Slight negative vibe possible there.
Yeah. Then hang out, socializing.
Yeah.
Versus hang up, ending a phone call.
And the classic confusion.
Yeah.
Break up with someone, ending a relationship.
Versus break something up like separating food or maybe a fight.
Yeah, you can see the potential for awkward mistakes there.
For sure. It's a really solid rundown of common phrasal verbs and their tricky prepositions. So much useful stuff for daily conversation.
Definitely. Okay, shifting gears a bit, the deep dive then moves towards more advanced techniques, specifically reading the news.
Right, for picking up more sophisticated words and phrases. She uses a headline as a starting point. Why personal health and wellness are key to business longevity.
Okay, first breakdown, the word key. Here it's an adjective, meaning important, crucial.
And she points out, importantly, no he's on the end in this use. It's not keys.
Got it. Then longevity. Focus on pronunciation, longevity, and meaning lasting a long time.
Applies to business life, human life.
Yeah, and she introduces the idea of key takeaways or main takeaways.
Yeah, basically the main points or lessons you get from something. Useful phrase. She notes the singular takeaway too.
So the first takeaway from this hypothetical article, prioritizing health helps leaders.
And here she gets into more detailed vocabulary. Prioritize the verb versus make something a priority, the noun phrase.
She even asks you, the listener, to share how you prioritize things.
Then the adjective equipped, meaning prepared or ready. Synonyms like able to, ready to, capable of. Notice capable of takes a gerund.
Right, and synonyms for handle, manage, deal with, address. Good alternatives.
The next takeaway deals with overexertion. Too much effort, mental or physical.
Pronunciation of exertion and the over prefix meaning too much, like oversleep, overeat, overwork.
And burnout, that state of extreme exhaustion.
And the verb impact can be positive or negative, but here it's specified negatively impact.
And adequate, meaning enough, like adequate sleep.
Then the idea that leaders who model good health contribute to a better workplace.
Model here means demonstrate, show, exemplify.
Contribute is plural because leaders is plural. Simple grammar point, but important.
Boosting meaning increasing. And staff retention, a company's ability to keep its employees.
Retain is the verb. Staff is that collective noun.
Then she mentions some survey data from Babbel in the UK.
Leaders wanting to strengthen, improve, or boost their physical, mental, and ethical fitness.
Ethical fitness, interesting term. Basically, being able to act ethically, make fair decisions.
And she notes how we often drop in order from in order to succeed, just saying to succeed.
Yeah, very common simplification.
The next point is about negative impacts. Overexhausted, sleep-deprived leaders are less effective.
Negotiator, the person who negotiates. The phrase capable of, again, here with empathy.
And drive innovation or drive change, meaning make it happen, facilitate it.
Synonyms like inspire, encourage, facilitate. Good range there.
Penultimate takeaway. Company culture matters for health, retention, longevity.
Right. Company culture, the values, beliefs, how people interact at work can be toxic, can be amazing.
And the final point is that common phrase, health truly is wealth.
Yeah, reinforcing the need to prioritize health, make it a priority. She encourages you to use those phrases.
It's interesting how this whole section links language learning to understanding broader topics like business and well-being.
It really does. It shows how interconnected everything is.
Okay, so let's just quickly wrap up what we've covered in this deep dive on learning English effectively in 2025, drawing on Jennifer's insights.
We've seen the value of learning from natives, analyzing real speech from celebrities and interviews.
We tackled those sometimes tricky phrasal verbs.
Yep. And explored how reading the news can seriously level up your vocabulary and understanding of complex phrases.
The main thing is how practical this all is for you, for your own learning journey.
Exactly. Really engaging with authentic English, noticing the details, understanding context. That's how you move towards fluency.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Notice how this deep dive, while focused on English, also touched on communication, understanding different viewpoints, even personal health.
It really suggests that improving your language skills is part of a bigger picture of self-improvement, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It all connects. So keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive. Ever feel like English has these like secret codes? You know, these phrases that just totally change a verb's meaning?
Yeah, it can be a bit tricky, right?
It's like, I don't know, a whole other language within a language almost.
Definitely.
But don't worry, today we're going to decode some of these sneaky little phrases. We're diving into the world of phrasal verbs.
Oh yeah, phrasal verbs. They can be a real challenge for English learners.
For sure, but they're everywhere. You can't really escape them if you want to, sound natural.
Exactly. They're absolutely essential for fluency.
Absolutely. And, you sent over this really great online lesson that we're using as our guide today. And I have to say, it's got a really fun approach.
Oh, that's great to hear.
It does. It's like the lesson itself is kind of winking at you and saying, don't worry, we'll figure this out together,
I love that. It's like a friendly guide through the sometimes confusing world of phrasal verbs.
Exactly. So no need to be intimidated. We're in good hands, I think. So
Yes.
Let's just jump right in. The first phrasal verb on our list is bring up.
Bring up. Okay, classic phrasal verb.
It is. And the lesson gives the example, she always brings up her travels when we meet. We all have that friend.
Oh yeah, for sure. The one who somehow manages to steer every conversation back to their backpacking trip through Europe, right?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. But what I think is fascinating here is that how we bring up things can really impact how others perceive us.
Absolutely. Timing and context are everything.
They are.
Like imagine bringing up a really sensitive topic at the completely wrong moment.
Oh, yeah.
That could be disastrous.
A recipe for disaster.
Exactly.
And the lesson actually picks up on this perfectly in this little dialogue snippet it has. Someone asks, did they talk about the new project? And the response is, no one brought it up. It's like that classic meeting scenario.
No, I know exactly what you mean. Everyone's just tiptoeing around the issue.
Totally. And that kind of avoidance, it can lead to misunderstandings or, even missed opportunities.
Oh, for sure. It's almost like a power play, Who's going to be brave enough to be the one to bring it up?
Exactly. So, okay, bring up. It's all about introducing a topic, but it's got this added layer of, social awareness, which is interesting.
It's very nuanced.
It is. All right, let's move on to the next phrasal verb on our list,
Yeah.
which is look up. And I feel like this one, it's really evolved with technology.
Oh, absolutely.
The example the lesson gives is, I looked up the word in the dictionary, which definitely conjures up images of these huge, dusty dictionaries that we used to have.
I remember those.
Remember those?
So heavy, you'd need a forklift to move them.
Right. So different from how we look things up now.
It's incredible to think about how much has changed, right? We used to be limited to these physical books, and now, boom, instant access to this almost infinite amount of information all on our phones or laptops. It's amazing.
It is. It really is. And yet, the core idea of looking up information, of just wanting to understand something better, it hasn't changed. It's still the same.
Absolutely. It's that human curiosity, right?
Yes, exactly. And the lesson, it has a little snippet where someone's asking about the meaning of serendipity, and the other person's like, let's look it up. It's just such a natural, everyday interaction.
And that really shows how phrasal verbs are often so informal, so conversational.
They are. Okay, now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about turn down.
You're down, okay.
Which, to me, always feels like a phrasal verb with a lot of hidden layers.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Like the lesson gives the example, he turned down the job offer. It seems simple enough on the surface.
Right.
But there are so many different ways to say no politely.
Oh, yeah, and especially when you consider different cultures, it gets even more complex.
Totally. In some cultures, being direct is valued, and in others, you have to be much more indirect to avoid offending anyone.
Exactly. The way you turn down an offer can really make or break a relationship. It's not just about the words, it's the whole delivery.
It's a delicate dance, really, figuring out how to say no gracefully without burning any bridges.
I like that, a delicate dance. That's a perfect way to put it.
And the lesson actually, they have a little in conversation snippet that I think really captures this dance. Someone asks, "Did you accept the invitation?" And the answer is, "No, I had to turn it down." You can almost hear the unspoken reasons,
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes what's left unsaid is just as important as what's actually spoken.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, get ready for this next phrasal verb because I think we can all relate to this one, especially on a Monday morning. It's run out of.
Run out of. Oh, that's a good one. It's definitely a universal experience.
The lesson sets the scene perfectly. You're desperate for coffee. You open the cupboard, and there's an empty bag of beans. Ugh. We've all been there, right?
Oh, countless times. It's that sinking feeling in your stomach, like realizing you're utterly out of something you need. Could be coffee beans, could be time, could be patience, anything.
It really could. And the in conversation snippet for this one, it made me laugh out loud. Someone asked, "Why didn't you make coffee?" And the answer is, "We ran out of coffee beans." It's so simple, but it just perfectly encapsulates that feeling of, disappointment and frustration.
It's perfect, isn't it? And it shows how these little phrases, these phrasal verbs, can be so incredibly evocative. You can pack so much emotion into just a few words.
You can. All right, enough with the caffeine deprivation. Let's move on to a phrasal verb that's a little more positive.
Okay, I like it. Bring on the positivity.
Let's talk about get along with.
Get along with. All right, a classic for relationships of all kinds.
It is. And, I think we've all had roommates we've gotten along with amazingly, right? And then maybe some others that were, shall we say, a little more challenging.
Oh, roommate dynamics. That's a whole other deep dive we could do sometime.
We could. We totally could. But yeah, it's all about those interpersonal relationships, whether it's, with roommates, colleagues, or even family members.
Yeah.
The lesson's example is, I get along well with my colleagues. And who wants to dread going to work every day because of a tense environment?
Right. Nobody. A harmonious workplace is so important for productivity and just general well-being.
For sure. And the in conversation snippet for get along with, it really hits home. Someone asks, "Do you like your new roommate?" And the response is, "Yes, we get along great." You can practically hear the sigh of relief, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's that feeling of finding that perfect balance.
Yeah.
Where a relationship just feels easy and comfortable.
It does. It really does. And speaking of balance, let's tackle a phrasal verb that can sometimes, throw people for a loop.
Oh, okay. Which one is that?
Call off.
Call off. All right.
The lesson focuses on its meaning of canceling something, they called off the meeting due to bad weather. Pretty common scenario.
Definitely. But what's interesting about call off is that it has the sense of finality to it, don't you think?
It does.
It's not just a postponement. It's like, nope, it's completely canceled.
Yes. And the in conversation snippet really captures that feeling of, plans just crumbling.
Oh, yeah.
Are we still going on the trip? No, they called it off. It's like the universal sound of, a plan falling apart.
Definitely.
Okay.
I've definitely been there.
Me too.
Sometimes calling things off is definitely for the best, Bad weather. You can't really argue with that.
Right. Safety first.
Exactly.
All right. Let's move on to a phrasal verb that I think might be like the anthem of procrastination.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued. Which one?
Put off. I bet you can relate to this one.
Put off. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think we've all been guilty of that at some point.
The lesson uses the example, I keep putting off my dentist appointment. And I think we've all been there.
Oh, yeah. There are certain tasks that, they just seem to have this magnetic force that repels us.
They do.
Like, I'll do it tomorrow or next week or maybe next year. Exactly. But what's interesting about put off is that it implies a delay. You're not necessarily avoiding the task altogether. It's more like, I'll get to it eventually.
Eventually. Yeah, it's like that little voice in the back of our heads, right?
Exactly.
Just whispering sweet procrastinations in our ears.
Exactly. And the lessons in conversation snippet, it's so perfect for this one. Did you finish the report? No, I put it off until tomorrow. It's classic.
It is. Oh, man, procrastination. It's a slippery slope.
It really is. But speaking of creativity, let's move on to a phrasal verb that has a bit of a multiple personality, shall we say. Makeup.
Makeup. Oh, I like that. Multiple personality phrasal verb.
It can be a tricky one because it has so many different meanings.
I think of it as like a master of disguise,
Oh, that's a good one.
It can wear so many different hats.
Exactly. Like, in one sense, it can be about inventing things, like she made up an excuse for being late.
Right, so it can be a little bit of a fibber sometimes.
It can be, but it can also be about reconciliation. Like when you make up after an argument, it's about restoring harmony.
That's true. And the in conversation section of the lesson plays on this dual nature really well. The line is, did he really see a ghost? No, he made it up.
Oh, I love that. It's like someone's having a bit of fun with their storytelling skills.
They are.
And that's what's so great about phrasal verbs. They can inject so much personality and color into our language.
They can. Okay, are you ready for a phrasal verb that's tough, both literally and figuratively?
Oh, okay. Lay it on me. Hit me with it.
Give up.
Give up. Okay, yeah. That one can be loaded.
The lesson uses the example, don't give up on your dreams, which is, it's a great motivational message.
Oh, for sure. Perseverance is key.
But giving up isn't always a bad thing, right? Sometimes it's about recognizing when a situation is no longer serving us,
Absolutely. It's about knowing when to hold on and when to let go.
Exactly. And the in conversation snippet really kind of highlights this internal struggle. Learning English is hard. Yes, but never give up. It's that encouragement we all need sometimes.
We do. We all need a little pep talk now and then.
We do. All right, let's lighten the mood a bit with a phrasal verb that's all about, casual fun.
Oh, okay, good. A little bit of levity. I like it. Bring it on.
Hang out. Can't you just feel those laid back vibes?
Hang out. Oh, yeah. I can practically hear the music playing in the background already.
The lesson gives us this classic invitation, let's hang out this weekend. It's so simple, but it's so inviting.
Exactly. No pressure, just good times with good people.
Right. And the in conversation snippet, it perfectly captures that feeling of, just relaxed connection. What are you doing later? Just hanging out with friends.
It's about being in the moment, enjoying each other's company without any big plans or agendas.
Right. Okay, let's get back to reality. Or at least to our to-do lists.
Oh, okay. Back to the grind.
Back to the grind.
Yeah.
With catch-up.
Catch up. Okay, yes. That one can feel a bit overwhelming sometimes.
The lesson uses the example, I need to catch up on my emails, which is something I think we can all relate to, especially after a vacation, right?
Oh, tell me about it. Coming back to hundreds of unread emails, it's like facing a digital mountain.
It is. But, catch up, it does imply this sense of forward momentum, a determination to get back on track.
It's like hitting the reset button and saying, okay, time to get back in the game.
Yes. And the in-conversation example really illustrates this well. Long time no see, let's grab coffee and catch up. It's that feeling of, reconnecting and bridging that gap.
It's about rebuilding those connections and getting back in sync. Now for our final phrasal verb. And this one, it always feels a bit like, a happy accident. Come across.
Oh, yeah, I like that. A happy accident.
The lesson gives the example. I came across an old photo album yesterday, and it just evokes this feeling of surprise and unexpected discovery.
It does. And the in-conversation snippet really paints this lovely picture. Look at this vintage watch. Where did you find it? I came across it at a flea market. It's about those moments, when we stumble upon something wonderful without even looking for it.
It's like the universe is giving you a little gift, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. Those little moments can just make your whole day.
They can. And it's amazing, right? Like these 12 seemingly simple phrases, bring up, look up, turn down, run out of, get along with, call off, put off, make up, give up, hang out, catch up, and come across.
Yeah, 12 little phrases, and they can express so much. It's incredible, really.
They really can. It's like they're these little keys that unlock this whole other level of fluency.
That's a great way to put it, like secret codes to sounding more natural, more like a native speaker.
Exactly. And you know what I really appreciate about this lesson is that it goes beyond just dry definitions and grammar rules.
Oh, absolutely. It doesn't just tell you what the phrasal verbs mean. It shows you how they're actually used.
It does. It brings them to life with these fun examples and the dialogue snippet.
And those little quizzes, too. Those were really clever.
They were, because they're not just about, testing your knowledge. It's like they're anticipating the mistakes you might make.
Exactly. They're designed to point out those little nuances that can trip learners up.
They are. And, the lesson ends with this really inspiring call to action, which I love. It challenges you to use at least 3 of these phrasal verbs in a conversation that very day.
Oh, I like that. It's a small step, but it can make a big difference.
It can. It's all about taking what you've learned and putting it into practice,
Right.
making it part of your active vocabulary.
Exactly. Like with anything, the more you use it, the more comfortable you become.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe you'll even come across some new phrasal verbs along the way.
That's the beauty of language, right? It's a constant journey of discovery.
It is. So there you have it. 12 phrasal verbs down, countless more to go.
But hey, we've made a great start.
We have. And, as always, the best way to learn is just to keep exploring, keep experimenting, and most importantly, have fun with it.
Couldn't agree more. Happy learning.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Okay, so get this. Today we're looking at how to boost your English fluency with just 19 words.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy, right? Sounds too good to be true, but that's what this whole deep dive is about.
Yeah.
We're going to look at the source material. It's like a crash course for English fluency. Just 19 words.
It's interesting because a lot of people think that to be fluent, you have to know tons of words.
Right.
But this is like the opposite. It's about using the right words at the right time.
Oh, I like that. Like having a toolbox.
Exactly.
With just the tools you need.
Yeah.
So where do we even start with this? There's all these different categories in the source material.
Well, the first one that comes to mind is transition words.
Okay, transition words.
Those little words that connect your ideas?
Like however and therefore.
Exactly. Those are great examples.
Yeah, we use those all the time.
Yeah. But they're so important.
Yeah, I never really thought about why they're important.
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
If you were listening to someone and they just jumped from one idea to the next without any transitions,
It'd be so jarring.
that sounds so spread.
Where are you going with this? Yeah.
So transitions help everything flow. And when you use them well, you sound more organized, more articulate.
Right, because you're guiding the listener.
Exactly.
You're not just throwing random ideas out there.
It's like you're saying, hey, stick with me here. I'm taking you somewhere.
Okay, that makes sense. So those little words really make a difference.
They do.
Now, I want to talk about something that I struggle with.
Okay.
It's those power verbs and clarity adjectives. Like why say something is good
Right.
when you could say it's compelling.
Exactly. Or insightful.
Yes. Think about a time when you were just captivated by something. What words would you use to describe it?
Exactly. You want to use words that paint a picture.
Okay.
And strong verbs do that.
So instead of saying, I made a new strategy, you say, I implemented a new strategy.
Exactly. So that's much stronger.
Oh, it sounds so much better.
Right.
But sometimes I just don't have those words at my fingertips.
Right.
I know what I want to say, but
Yeah, it can be tough.
yeah.
But that's the beauty of this 19-word thing. You don't have to learn a million words.
Yeah.
Just focus on these key ones.
So quality over quantity.
Exactly. And it's not about trying to sound super smart.
Right.
It's about being clear and effective.
Oh.
For example, if you're sending a professional email
Yeah.
and there's a problem, instead of saying, this is bad,
Oh, right.
you could say, this presents a challenge.
Okay, so you're still acknowledging the problem,
Right.
but in a more professional way.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. Okay, now for the one that always trips me up.
Oh, tell me.
Affect versus effect.
Oh, classic.
I swear, I still mix these up.
Don't worry, you're not alone. Even native speakers mess these up.
Oh, thank goodness.
But it's so important to get them right.
Yeah, if you're giving a presentation or something,
Right.
it can undermine your whole message.
Exactly.
So how do we finally conquer this?
Okay, so remember this. Affect is usually a verb,
Other.
meaning to influence.
Okay.
And effect is usually a noun, meaning the result.
Okay.
So the weather affected my mood.
It influenced how you felt.
Right. And the effect of the weather was that I stayed inside.
That was the outcome. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense now.
Good.
So we've got our transition words, our power verbs and adjectives, and we've tackled those tricky word pairs. What's next?
Let's talk about natural phrases.
Ooh.
Those little expressions that make you sound.
Like a native speaker.
Exactly.
I'm ready to unlock the secrets. What have we got?
Well, the source material mentions things like out of the blue, hit the nail on the head, think outside the box.
Okay, so I actually use those.
Yeah.
But I never thought about how they might sound
Yeah.
to someone learning English.
Right. Because for native speakers,
Yeah.
they just come naturally.
Right.
But they add so much personality to your language.
Instead of just stating facts.
Exactly.
You're adding flavor.
Right.
It's like adding spices to a dish.
I love that analogy.
So the other day, I was telling my friend
Yeah.
how I saw someone I hadn't seen in years.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I ran into him out of the blue.
Yeah.
It just felt more natural than
Gosh.
saying I saw him unexpectedly.
Yeah, those natural phrases, they just add another level.
They do. They do. I'm definitely going to pay more attention to those
They're good.
and try to use them more.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these small tweaks can really make a difference.
That's what this whole 19-word approach is about.
Yeah.
Giving you the tools to communicate better.
So we've got our transitions, our power verbs, tricky pairs, natural phrases. What's the final tool in our fluency toolbox?
Let's talk about those advanced nouns.
Oh, okay.
You know, words like dilemma, momentum, consensus.
Yeah, those are the ones that make you sound really smart.
They do.
But I'll be honest, I sometimes get a little intimidated by them.
Yeah.
Like I'll be in a conversation and think, oof, there's a better word for this.
Right.
But I just can't think of it.
I totally understand.
Yeah.
It's normal to feel that way.
Okay.
Because we don't use those words every day.
Right.
But when you do use them,
Yeah.
it shows a deeper understanding of the language.
Like you're saying, hey, I know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
I like that. Okay, challenge accepted. I'm going to try to use those more.
Good.
Maybe I'll impress myself.
I think you will. And remember, it's not about sounding smarter than everyone.
Right.
It's about using language effectively.
Okay, so we've explored all these categories
Yeah.
of these 19 words. But how do we actually put this into practice? The source material does mention some practice tips.
It does. It talks about the importance of practice.
Right, because it's not enough to just know the words.
Exactly. You have to use them.
You have to actually use them.
Yes. And one tip is to start small.
Okay,
Don't try to use all 19 words at once.
right. That would be overwhelming.
It would be. So just focus on one or two at a time.
That's a great point. It's like breaking it down into smaller steps
Exactly.
so it feels less daunting.
And remember, fluency is a journey.
Not a destination.
Right. So be patient with yourself and celebrate your progress.
Okay, I love that.
It even says, like, try to use just one new word a day.
Oh, wow.
Like, imagine you
Yeah.
could add 365 new words to your vocabulary in a year.
That's amazing.
Oh.
That would totally change the game.
Right.
And doesn't even sound that hard.
No.
I could definitely use one new word a day.
Yeah.
It's like a fun little challenge.
It is. It's all about that momentum, you know?
Yeah, those little wins.
Exactly. It keeps you going.
And it makes it feel less overwhelming.
Totally.
Like this whole less is more idea.
Yeah.
Focus on the essentials,
Right.
master those, and then you'll sound more fluent.
Exactly. It's about being intentional, right?
Yeah.
Choosing the words that really matter.
You know, we've all had those moments where someone says just the right thing
Yes.
and it just hits you.
It's powerful, right?
It is. Like it makes you think or feel something.
Exactly.
And that's the power of choosing your words carefully.
It is. You know, there's that famous quote. It's
Yeah.
like, I would have written a shorter letter, but I didn't have the time.
That's so true.
Right. Because being concise,
Yeah,
it actually takes more effort,
it does.
but it's worth it.
Yeah, it's the difference between just speaking and
Ah.
really communicating.
Exactly.
Think about a speech that's moved you. It's probably not full of like jargon or super complicated words.
Right.
It's simple but powerful.
Yeah. The words resonate with you.
They do. It's like
Like what?
it's like a chef who uses just a few high quality ingredients
Okay. Yeah.
but creates an amazing dish.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, they're not trying to like overwhelm you with flavors.
Right.
It's all carefully selected.
So if we apply that to language,
Yeah.
it's about being mindful of how we combine words.
To get our message across.
Exactly.
It's like the grammar of fluency.
It is. It's not just knowing the words. It's
Yeah.
how you put them together.
Yeah, the structure, the tone, the emphasis.
That.
You know, as we're talking, I'm realizing fluency isn't just about sounding native.
No.
It's about connecting with people.
Exactly. It's like building bridges.
Yeah, between minds and hearts.
When you can express yourself clearly,
Yeah.
it opens up so many possibilities.
I mean, you're free to share your ideas, your stories,
Yeah.
without feeling limited by language.
Exactly.
That's so empowering.
It is. Fluency lets you participate in conversations, build relationships, advocate for things you care about.
Wow.
You can even inspire others with your words.
I love that. It's about having a voice
Yes.
and using it.
And, you know, I've definitely held back from saying things.
Really?
Yeah, because I wasn't sure if I could say it right.
Oh, I get that.
But with practice,
Yeah.
those barriers come down.
Okay, so this 19-word approach,
Yeah.
it's like a starting point to build.
From feeling intimidated to feeling empowered.
We talk a lot about personal growth on this show.
Yeah.
And I think language is such a big part of that.
Totally.
It's how we express ourselves.
Yeah.
How we connect with the world.
It's essential.
And it's a journey that never really ends.
It doesn't. Language is always changing.
That's true.
So there's always more to learn.
Okay. I think this is a good place to take a pause.
Sound good.
But don't go anywhere.
We'll be right back.
We have more to share. All right. So we're back. And I was just thinking, this whole fluency thing, it's not just about sounding like a native speaker.
Right.
It's about really connecting with people.
It is. It's like you're able to express yourself more fully.
So someone listening might be thinking, okay, this is all great, but how do I actually, use this?
Well, remember that source material?
Yeah.
It really stresses that you don't have to know every word in the dictionary.
Oh, thank goodness.
Right. It's about choosing the right words to express yourself clearly.
And confident.
Yes.
And what I like about this approach is it's for anyone, no matter your level.
Exactly. Beginner, advanced.
Yeah.
It's about shifting your mindset.
Okay.
From feeling overwhelmed
Yeah.
to focusing on the essentials, like those 19 words.
So it's like having a strong foundation.
Yes.
Instead of trying to build like a skyscraper on sand.
Exactly. And remember, it's a journey.
Yeah.
Not a destination.
Be patient, celebrate the progress.
And enjoy those aha moments.
I love those. Like when you use a new word and it just clicks.
It feels so good. You know, one thing I keep thinking about is how important it is to be intentional with language.
Oh, yeah. That's been coming up for me, too.
It's not just about speaking fluently. It's about speaking thoughtfully.
Choosing your words carefully.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Making sure your message is clear.
So it has the impact you want.
Right. Like it's the difference between throwing a dart randomly and aiming for the bullseye.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Intentionality brings focus.
Yes. And it shows in how people perceive you when you use language precisely.
Yeah.
You sound more confident, more credible.
It's like you're saying, I respect your time, so I'm going to make every word count.
Exactly.
So, to wrap things up, I have a question for our listeners out there.
Okay, what is it?
We focused on these 19 words, but what other words or phrases do you think are essential for fluency?
I love that question.
Good.
Because it shows that language is always changing. Right. There are always new words to learn.
New things to discover.
So keep expanding your vocabulary.
That's such a good reminder. It's a lifelong journey.
It is.
No matter how fluent you think you are.
There's always more to learn.
I love that.
Oh.
Okay, so to our listener, keep your ears open, your mind curious, and your tongue practicing.
The world needs to hear your voice.
Yes. And fluency is the key to unlocking its potential.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
All right. So, sometimes I feel like I'm stuck in a bit of a vocabulary rut, using the same words day after day.
I know what you mean.
But I was looking at this guide to 20 advanced words, the kind that, can really make you sound smarter in everyday conversations.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be fun to kind of deep dive into some of these words.
I think that's a great idea. It's not just about sounding smart, though, right?
Right.
It's more about expressing yourself with more precision and nuance. And honestly, even understanding how other people are using language to kind of persuade you or inform you.
Right. Yeah. It's like you can be more persuasive and also not be persuaded by other people.
Exactly.
So we're not aiming to turn everyone into Shakespeare here.
No.
But I bet you'd be surprised how many of these words you've already encountered without realizing, how much they can elevate your communication.
Absolutely. And that's actually what's so interesting about this particular set of words. They're not pulled from some obscure academic journal or something like that.
Right.
They're words that appear in everyday conversations, articles, books, you name it.
Yeah.
So knowing them inside and out, that really makes you a better speaker.
Yeah.
But it also makes you a more critical listener at the same time.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's like having a secret decoder ring for the English language.
I like that.
Yeah. So let's unlock some of these words.
Okay.
What's our first one?
Well, we'll start with intriguing. Now, on the surface, it just means very interesting.
Yeah.
But think about the difference between saying, that movie sounds interesting.
Right.
Versus, that movie sounds intriguing.
Ooh, yeah. Intriguing definitely has more weight to it.
Right.
It's like you're saying that movie has hooked your curiosity and you need to know more.
Precisely. It suggests a much deeper level of engagement. You're not just passively interested, you're actively drawn in.
It's almost like intriguing implies there's a mystery to unravel.
Yeah, there's something more to it.
Yeah, okay, what's next on our list?
Let's go with diligent, meaning showing care and perseverance in your work. Now, you could easily just say someone is hardworking, but diligent, that carries a different connotation, doesn't it?
It does. Hardworking just sounds like putting in the hours. But diligent, like you said, it makes me think of someone who's truly dedicated to their work.
Exactly.
Who really takes pride in what they're doing.
And that distinction can make all the difference, especially in like a professional setting.
Oh, totally.
Imagine you're describing a colleague to your boss, right? Diligent paints a much more impressive picture.
Right. It subtly implies that they go above and beyond just the bare minimum.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm already feeling my vocabulary muscles getting stronger. What's word number 3?
Let's tackle one we all know too well. Tedious.
Yes.
Meaning, of course, boring and repetitive, something that just seems to drag on forever.
Yeah. Tedious is the perfect word for that stack of paperwork on my desk.
Oh, I know.
Or that meeting that could have been an email. Haha.
Exactly. But the reason this word is so useful is that it allows you to express that feeling of boredom
Right.
in a more sophisticated way.
So instead of just groaning that something's boring,
Yeah,
using tedious actually makes you sound more articulate.
precisely.
Right.
And it also allows you to be more specific about, what kind of boredom you're experiencing.
Okay.
Tedious implies a sense of monotony, of having to do something repetitive and unchallenging.
That's a good point. It's like saying, this is boring and it's making me feel drained because it's just so mindless.
Right. And by using that kind of nuanced language, you're really signaling to others that you're thoughtful and attentive to detail, even when you're describing something, negative.
Okay, I can definitely see how that could come in handy. Let's keep going.
Okay.
What's our next word?
This one's a big one, and we hear it used a lot, especially these days. Unprecedented. It means, quite simply, never done or known before.
This is definitely a word that carries a lot of weight, especially in the news.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like every other day there's some unprecedented event happening.
I know, right? But that's why it's so important to understand its true meaning.
Okay.
Unprecedented isn't just about something being new or different. It's about something being truly groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Something that breaks the mold.
So it's not just about a change, it's about a truly significant shift.
Exactly.
That's never, ever been seen before.
It's about recognizing those moments in history or in science or culture
Yeah.
that just completely change the game.
And by using unprecedented correctly, we can avoid kind of diluting its power and make sure that it's used only when it's truly warranted.
Absolutely. It's about using language with precision and impact.
Okay. That's 4 words down, 16 to go.
Wow, we're making progress.
I know, I'm feeling more confident already.
That's great to hear.
What's up next?
Let's aim for completeness with comprehensive.
Okay.
This word signals that something is complete, thorough, including all the necessary details.
So instead of just, asking for a report, I could ask for a comprehensive report.
Yes.
Meaning I want all the data, all the analysis, no stone unturned.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And imagine, like, you're reading a review of some new gadget, right? A comprehensive review that would cover all its features, the pros and cons,
Yeah.
comparisons to other similar products, and so on.
It's like saying, give me the full picture, leave nothing out.
Precisely. Comprehensive just implies a level of depth
Yeah.
and thoroughness that goes, beyond the surface.
I can see this word being useful in all sorts of situations.
Oh, yeah.
Work, research, even just planning a trip.
Absolutely.
Okay, what's word number 6?
Let's get a little more nuanced here
Okay.
with subtle.
Okay.
This word describes something that's not obvious, delicate, or understated.
Ooh, subtle is a good one. It's like noticing those little details that most people might miss.
Yeah.
Like a subtle hint of spice in a dish, or a subtle change in someone's mood.
Exactly. And this word is all about being perceptive, about paying attention to the fine details.
Yeah.
It suggests a level of awareness and understanding
Yeah.
that goes beyond the superficial.
I love that. It's like saying, I see what you did there, but in a much more sophisticated way.
Exactly. Subtle implies a deeper level of observation
Yeah.
and insight.
This is great. We're already starting to unpack some really interesting words here.
I know, this is fun.
What's up next?
This one might hit a little close to home for us. Jargon. It refers to the specialized language used by a particular group or profession.
Oh, yeah. I think we're all guilty of using jargon sometimes. It's so easy to fall into that trap,
I know.
especially when you're talking to people in your own field.
But being aware of jargon and knowing when to avoid it, that is crucial for effective communication.
Yeah.
Think about it. Have you ever been in a conversation where you felt completely lost?
Oh, yeah.
Because everyone was just using all these technical terms that you just didn't understand.
Absolutely. It's like they're speaking a different language.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel so excluded.
Yes.
Or even intimidated,
Exactly. So while jargon can be useful, within a specific group,
Yeah.
it's important to remember that clear, simple language, that's usually the best way to communicate with a wider audience.
Right. It's about making sure that everyone is on the same page, regardless of their background or expertise. Okay, what's word number 8 on our list?
Let's talk about ambitious,
Okay.
a word that often gets thrown around. But do we really understand its full meaning? It's more than just wanting to succeed.
Yeah.
It's about having this strong desire to achieve something truly significant.
So it's not just about climbing the corporate ladder. It's about setting goals that are truly challenging and meaningful.
Exactly. Think about it. You could say that someone's ambitious because they want to be a CEO, right?
Right.
But you could also say that a scientific research project is ambitious because it aims to solve some major global problem.
So ambitious can apply to individuals and their goals,
Yeah,
but also to projects, ideas, even entire organizations.
absolutely. It's about setting the bar high and striving for something that pushes the boundaries.
I like that. It's about aiming for excellence, for making a real impact.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep this vocabulary train rolling. What's word number 9?
This one's crucial in our increasingly interconnected world. Empathy.
Okay.
The ability to understand and share the feelings of others.
Empathy is more than just sympathy, right? It's about truly putting yourself in someone else's shoes and seeing the world from their perspective.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that everyone has their own unique experiences and perspectives and being able to connect with them on like an emotional level.
I can see how empathy is essential in so many areas of life, from personal relationships to professional settings to even just navigating society as a whole.
Absolutely. It allows us to build stronger relationships, resolve conflicts more effectively,
Yeah.
and just create a more compassionate and understanding world.
All right, we're almost through our first 10 words.
I know. Can you believe it?
What's the last one we'll tackle in this section?
Let's finish with reluctant.
Okay.
It describes someone who's unwilling or hesitant to do something.
I feel like I use this word all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm reluctant to try that new restaurant because I've heard mixed reviews.
Yeah, exactly. Or he was reluctant to share his ideas because he was afraid of being criticized.
It's about expressing a sense of hesitation or reservation without being outright, negative or dismissive.
Right. And sometimes that hesitation, it's warranted.
Totally.
Reluctant can signal that you need more information or convincing before you're ready to fully commit.
Okay, so we've covered 10 fantastic words already.
I know, it's amazing.
I can already feel my communication skills leveling up.
Me too.
But this is just the beginning, right?
This is just the tip of the iceberg.
We've got 10 more words to explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Oh yeah, we're just getting started. Welcome back. I hope you've got your mental dictionaries ready.
Yeah.
Because we're about to unlock 10 more powerful words
Okay.
that can add some serious punch to your vocabulary.
I'm ready to expand my linguistic horizons even further.
Excellent.
What's the first word we're tackling in this round?
Let's start with elaborate, which means to explain something in greater detail.
Okay.
Think of it as going beyond the surface level, really fleshing out your thoughts.
I can see how elaborate would be useful in so many situations. Like if someone gives a presentation with a really interesting idea, you could say, "That sounds fascinating. Can you elaborate on that point?"
Exactly. It's a great way to encourage deeper discussion and get to the heart of a matter. You're signaling that you're not just passively listening,
Right.
but you're actively seeking a more comprehensive understanding.
It's like saying, "Tell me more, I'm all ears."
I love it.
Okay, what's next on our list of vocabulary power-ups?
Let's embrace a little bit of the unexpected with spontaneous.
Okay.
This word describes something done without planning.
Right.
Something impulsive and in the moment.
Ooh, I love a good dose of spontaneity. It's like
Yeah.
throwing caution to the wind and just going with the flow.
And sometimes, those spontaneous decisions, those lead to the most memorable experiences.
For sure.
Think about it. Have you ever just taken a spontaneous road trip?
Oh, yeah.
Or decided on a whim to try a new restaurant?
Yes. And those are often the stories I end up telling over and over again.
Yeah.
Right? It's like spontaneity injects a little bit of magic into life.
I completely agree. It keeps things interesting. It allows us to break free from our routines.
Okay, I'm feeling energized by that word. What's next on our list?
Let's come back down to earth a little bit
Okay.
with mundane, which describes something ordinary, routine,
Yeah.
or even a bit boring.
I think we all experience those moments of mundanity in our lives.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the everyday stuff that we just have to get through.
But here's the interesting thing about mundane. It's all about perspective. What one person finds mundane, another person might actually find comforting
Oh, that's interesting.
or even enjoyable.
That's a good point. Like, I find folding laundry to be incredibly mundane, but my partner actually finds it really relaxing.
Exactly. So while mundane, might have these kind of negative connotations, it's important to remember that it's subjective.
Yeah.
What matters is how we choose to approach those everyday tasks
Right.
and find meaning in them.
Okay, I like that reframing of mundane. It's a reminder to find the silver lining, even in those, most ordinary moments. What's our next word?
Let's get real with candid,
Okay.
which means open, honest, and straightforward.
Candid. I appreciate people who are candid. Even when it's not always easy to hear,
Right.
It shows a level of authenticity
Yeah.
and respect,
And that candid communication, that is crucial for building trust
Uh-huh.
and strong relationships.
Totally.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Would you rather someone sugarcoat their feedback or just be upfront and honest with you?
Oh, definitely upfront and honest.
Yeah.
It might be uncomfortable in the moment,
Yeah.
but ultimately it's so much more helpful
Yeah,
and productive.
exactly. Candid allows for real conversations to happen.
Yeah.
And we can learn and grow from each other's perspectives.
Okay, I'm ready for our next word. What have you got?
Let's find some relief
Okay.
with alleviate, which means to reduce or relieve pain, difficulty, or stress.
Ooh, alleviate feels like a very soothing word. Like taking a deep breath and feeling the tension just melt away.
I love that. Think about it in different contexts. Like a doctor might prescribe medication to alleviate a patient's pain.
Uh-huh.
A government might implement policies to alleviate poverty.
Right.
Or even on a personal level, you could say, listening to music helps me alleviate stress.
Exactly. Alleviate can be applied to such a wide range of situations.
Oh, yeah.
From physical discomfort to emotional distress to societal problems. It's about taking action to make things better.
Yes. To ease burdens.
Okay, we're over halfway through our second set of words.
I know, this is going by fast.
What's next on our vocabulary adventure?
Let's talk about versatile, which describes something or someone who's adaptable,
Okay.
able to be used or function in many different ways.
Oh, versatile is a great word to have in your arsenal, especially in today's world where adaptability is so highly valued.
Absolutely. Think about, like a chef who can cook any cuisine, or like a tool that can be used for multiple tasks. That's versatility in action.
It's about being resourceful, adaptable, being able to pivot and thrive in different situations.
And in a world that's constantly changing, versatile individuals and organizations, they have a distinct advantage. They can navigate challenges and seize opportunities with, greater ease.
Okay, I'm making a note to add versatile to my resume. What's up next?
Let's acknowledge those moments of unplanned action
Okay.
with impulsive, meaning acting without thinking about the consequences.
Oh, impulsive. That can be both exciting and a little bit dangerous.
That's right.
Sometimes those spur-of-the-moment decisions lead to these amazing adventures, and other times, not so much.
It's true. Impulsivity can be a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It can lead to spontaneity, excitement, but it can also lead to regret if we're not careful.
I think it's about finding that balance between being open to new experiences and making sure we're not acting recklessly,
Exactly. And sometimes a little bit of planning can go a long way in preventing those impulsive decisions
Right.
from backfiring.
Okay, I'm ready for our next word. What have we got?
Let's vent a little
Okay.
with frustrating,
Okay.
which describes something that causes annoyance or disappointment.
Oh, frustrating. We've all been there.
Oh, yes.
Those moments when things just don't go our way.
Yeah.
or we encounter obstacles that seem impossible to overcome.
But here's the thing about frustration. It can actually be a powerful motivator.
Oh, interesting.
Think about it. When you're frustrated by a problem, you're more likely to put in the effort to solve it.
That's a good point. It's like frustration can fuel our creativity and our problem-solving skills.
Exactly. So next time you're feeling frustrated, try to channel that energy into finding a solution, into overcoming the challenge.
Okay, we're down to our last 2 words in this set.
I know, I can't believe it.
What's up next?
Get ready to be captivated by compelling, which describes something that evokes interest, attention, or admiration.
I love the word compelling. It's like a magnet,
Yeah.
It draws you in and makes you want to learn more.
Think about a book that you just couldn't put down,
Oh, yeah.
or like a speech that left you feeling so inspired. Those are examples of compelling content.
It's about creating something that truly resonates with people,
Yeah.
that leaves a lasting impact.
And it's not just limited to words, like a compelling piece of art, a compelling performance,
Yeah.
even a compelling personality. All of those can have that same magnetic effect.
Okay, on to our final word for this segment.
All right, let's do it.
What do we got?
Let's conclude with the power of resilience.
Okay.
With resilient, meaning able to recover quickly from difficulties or setbacks. It's about bouncing back from challenges,
Yeah.
stronger than before.
Resilient is such an important quality to have, especially in today's world, where we're constantly facing uncertainty and change.
Absolutely. Think about it. Resilient people, they don't let setbacks define them.
Right?
They learn from their mistakes. They adapt to new situations.
Yeah.
And they just keep moving forward.
It's about having that inner strength and determination to overcome obstacles and come out on the other side.
Yeah.
Even stronger than before.
Exactly. Resilience is about embracing challenges as opportunities for growth
Yeah.
and using them to fuel, our personal development.
Okay, we've explored another 10 amazing words. I'm feeling so empowered by this expanded vocabulary. But before we move on, I'm curious. Which word from this set really resonated with you?
It's hard to choose just one. So many of them feel so relevant to everyday life. But I think resilient, that one's really sticking with me.
Yeah, I can see why.
It's such a powerful reminder that we can bounce back from challenges,
It is. And it ties in nicely with something we've been highlighting throughout this whole deep dive, right?
Learning and using these words, it isn't just about, sounding smarter.
Right.
It's about equipping yourself to navigate the world more effectively.
It's like we're giving our listeners a toolbox.
Yeah.
Filled with these linguistic power tools.
I like that analogy. And just like any good toolbox, it's important to keep adding new tools, right?
Right.
As you encounter new challenges and situations.
So this deep dive, it's really just the beginning, right?
It is.
It's about sparking curiosity and encouraging our listeners to keep exploring, this vast and fascinating world of language.
A lifelong journey.
So where can our listeners go from here? What are some, practical tips for expanding their vocabularies even further?
Well, there are so many great resources available these days. You could start a word of the day ritual, subscribe to those online dictionaries or like etymology blogs.
Oh, yeah.
Or even just make a conscious effort to pay attention to the language used in your favorite books, podcasts, movies.
I love that idea of making it a daily habit.
Yeah.
It's like a mini workout for your brain,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Flexing those linguistic muscles.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to use those new words in your own conversations, right?
Right.
The more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
That's such an important point. It's not enough to just memorize the definitions.
Right.
We need to actually put these words into practice,
Yeah.
to really make them our own.
Think of it this way. Every new word you learn, it's like adding a new color to your palette. It gives you more options for expressing yourself with nuance and precision.
So before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a bit of a challenge.
Okay.
What's one word you learned today that you're going to commit to using in a conversation this week?
Oh, that's a good one. And I would add to that, how will using that word change the way you communicate? The way you're perceived?
Yeah.
Or even the way you think?
That's a great question to ponder. Remember, the power of language is immense. It shapes our thoughts, influences our actions, and connects us to each other.
It really does.
So go forth, listeners, and wield those words with confidence and intention.
I love it.
That's it for our deep dive into 20 advanced words you can use every day.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, happy wordsmithing.
You know, when you hear certain words, don't they just kind of bring that holiday feeling to life? We're going to dive into some Christmas vocabulary today.
Yeah.
But we're going deeper than just, dictionary definitions.
Right.
We're really trying to see how these words reflect, like, culture and tradition.
Absolutely. I think that language is such a good window into how people experience the world.
Yeah.
And that's definitely true for holidays like Christmas, for sure.
Okay, so we've got 19 of these most useful Christmas words to unpack.
Okay.
From the source material you sent over. And some are, pretty familiar, like festive and carol.
Right.
But I have a feeling that even those have kind of some hidden depths.
Oh, for sure. You'd be surprised at how much history and nuance is packed into those everyday words.
Yeah.
For example, festive isn't limited to just Christmas.
Right.
It speaks to a much broader human need for like celebration and ritual.
That's interesting. Yeah. I've always associated carols with, religious celebrations mostly, but I can see how they've evolved into something more than that over time.
Oh, absolutely. Carols have their roots in ancient traditions, and they served as a form of storytelling and even social commentary back then.
Wow. And some carols still use that beautiful old word Yuletide, right?
Yeah.
Seems like we're bringing back some of those older terms.
There's definitely a renewed appreciation for the language of tradition.
Yeah.
That actually reminds me, we've got tinsel, bauble, and ornament on our list.
Oh, yeah.
These words bring up a lot of sensory memories, don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Especially tinsel. Who hasn't spent like an hour untangling that stuff?
Yay.
Oh, my goodness. And speaking of decorations, did you know there's actually a difference between bauble and ornament?
That's right. Bauble is more common in British English, while ornament is the more general term.
Okay.
And the source actually gives us the example. The tree looks beautiful with all the ornaments.
Yeah. The source also mentions gift exchange.
Yeah.
The way we exchange gifts really shapes the whole Christmas experience, doesn't it? Whether it's a big family gathering or just a quiet exchange of small tokens of appreciation.
Yeah. It's fascinating how gift-giving traditions vary across cultures.
Yeah.
And even within families. The word exchange itself implies a kind of reciprocity, but that can take so many different forms.
Right. There are some real cultural gems on this list.
Yeah.
Like mulled wine.
Yeah.
Now that's a word that instantly warms me up.
Right.
Have you ever tried a Christmas cracker, though?
Ah, the Christmas cracker. It's a fun British tradition
Yep.
where you pull apart a paper tube with another person. It makes a little pop, and inside you find a small gift, a paper crown,
Wow.
and often a joke or a riddle.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah.
The source says, we pulled crackers before starting our Christmas dinner.
Yeah,
Maybe we should try that tradition sometime.
I think you'd enjoy it. Speaking of traditions, we can't forget the words that represent like the heart of Christmas, nativity and reindeer.
Those really capture the two sides of Christmas, don't they? The religious story and the more whimsical, fantastical elements.
Yeah.
Like Santa Claus and flying reindeer and all that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's amazing how those two words, nativity and reindeer, can evoke such different images and emotions, right?
Yeah.
The nativity scene with its quiet reverence,
Right.
and then reindeer representing the magic and excitement of like Christmas Eve.
Right. And speaking of reindeer, I can't help but think of Rudolph.
Oh, of course.
Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer.
Right.
Our source even points it out. Rudolph is the most famous reindeer of all.
Of course, he's become a cultural icon in his own right,
He has.
symbolizing acceptance and the idea that what makes you different can also make you extraordinary.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That ties in nicely with the word holly, don't you think?
Yeah.
It's not just a decoration. It's a symbol of hope and resilience in the middle of winter.
That's a great observation. Holly has been associated with Christmas for centuries,
Really?
and the source provides a lovely example of its use. We decorated the table with holly and candles.
Oh.
It really adds a festive touch, doesn't it?
It does. It's interesting how certain plants become so intertwined with specific times of year.
Right.
Like you mentioned earlier, language really does reflect our relationship with the natural world.
Absolutely. We also have sleigh on our list,
Oh, yeah.
which evokes a very specific image of winter travel, especially when you consider the source's mention of a horse-drawn sleigh.
It's a classic image, isn't it?
Yeah.
The horse-drawn sleigh, the snow falling softly.
Yeah.
It's like a scene from a Christmas card.
Yeah.
That makes me think of the word frosty,
Yeah.
which is so evocative of that crisp winter air.
Frosty really captures that sensory experience of Christmas.
Yeah.
The source paints a perfect picture with its example. The frosty morning was perfect for building a snowman.
And who doesn't love a good snowman?
Oh.
Though I have to admit, my favorite winter activity might involve an advent calendar.
Oh, yeah.
Those little doors hiding daily treats.
Yeah.
It's all about the anticipation.
Right.
What are some unique advent calendar traditions you've come across?
When I was younger, my family had a handmade advent calendar with tiny pockets.
Oh, wow.
And each day held a little note or a small treat. It wasn't about the grandeur of the gifts,
Yeah.
but the small moments of joy leading up to Christmas.
That's so heartwarming.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that the essence of the holidays isn't always about material things,
Right.
It's about those shared experiences and traditions.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to something we touched on earlier, how language shapes our understanding of Christmas.
We've only just scratched the surface, haven't we?
Right.
But exploring these 19 words has shown us how vocabulary can be a powerful tool for understanding tradition, history,
Yeah.
and even the different ways people experience the holidays.
It's like each word is a little window into the vast and varied world of Christmas traditions.
Yeah.
And I think it's time to open one more window. Remember how we talked about adding like one word to this list?
Yeah.
A word that really captures the essence of Christmas for you?
Yeah, that's the real heart of this whole deep dive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just about learning new words. It's about reflecting on what those words mean to us personally.
Exactly. And thinking about that one word, that personal touchstone for the holidays,
Right.
it can really spark some interesting conversations.
Yeah.
What word comes to mind for you?
For me, it might be generosity.
Oh,
It's about that spirit of giving,
Yeah.
not just material gifts, but also our time, kindness, and compassion.
that's a beautiful choice. And it really does remind me of something we've kind of seen throughout this whole exploration of Christmas vocabulary,
Yeah.
how these words connect us to something bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely. Whether it's the sense of community evoked by Carol
Yeah.
or the historical depth of Yuletide,
Right.
these words carry echoes of shared experiences and traditions.
And even a simple word like frosty can transport us back to childhood memories
Right.
of snowy days and winter wonder.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I encourage you to hold on to that word you chose, that word that encapsulates the spirit of Christmas for you.
Yeah.
Let it guide you through this season and maybe even share it with someone else.
Yeah, I like that. Because sometimes the most meaningful conversations
Right.
start with a single word from both of us.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Hey, everyone. Super stoked to have you all here as we kind of like really jump into this topic. I know you're all obsessed with, mastering English.
It's a pretty big deal, right?
Totally. So we're going to be dissecting this awesome guide called, let me see, a comprehensive 1-hour guide. And not just like summarizing it,
Oh, wait.
but pulling out the gems, those like super motivating nuggets to keep you going on your English journey.
And this guide, I gotta say, it's not your typical, learn English in 5 minutes kind of thing.
Ugh, those drive me crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It goes deeper, looks at the psychology, like why we struggle, how to rewire our thinking,
Totally. And we'll uncover some surprising things too.
You bet.
Like, did you know even native speakers mess up sometimes?
Yeah.
And like watching Friends can be educational. Who knew?
Right. It's about finding what works for you. And this guide's like this toolbox of different approaches. So,
I'm excited to dig in. But first, like the big WHY, right? Want to put in the effort.
the guide starts with this idea of open doors to opportunities, and they use this travel example. Imagine you're like in a bustling market in, I don't know, Morocco or something.
Oh, I love Morocco.
Right. And you can haggle prices, ask for directions, actually connect with people, not just gestures, you know?
That's the dream. But it's bigger than just travel, right?
Way bigger. Think global communication, business, ideas. English is like the key to this whole network.
So it's becoming a citizen of the world, kind of. Love that. The guide also talks about building confidence. We know learning anything new does that. But why is it special with language?
Well, language is how we express ourselves, connect. It's part of our identity, right? So the more you practice English, the more confident you become, not just in the language, but in yourself, you know, navigating the world.
It's like that moment when you realize you understand a whole conversation without translating in your head. Bam.
Total mind-blown moment. And speaking of unlocking things, there's this point about cultural connection that really hit me.
We do. It's huge. Imagine enjoying movies, books, music, all that without the language barrier. Like,
You get it, right? It's like gaining access to this whole new world of art and entertainment, that feeling when you get a joke in your favorite show without subtitles. Magic.
pure magic. But let's be real. It's not all sunshine and roses. There are bumps in the road.
Definitely.
And the guide dives into those common obstacles. And one that probably hits everyone is, lack of time.
Oh, tell me about it.
Right. Between work, life, just existing, finding time to practice feels impossible.
And that's where the guide gets really interesting. It debunks this myth that you need hours each day, like some kind of language hermit.
No thanks.
Yeah, they emphasize consistency over intensity. Even 15, 20 minutes consistently can make a huge difference. It's about using those little pockets of time we all have.
That is so reassuring. Because I think a lot of people get scared off thinking they got to like quit their job to learn English.
Exactly.
The other big one, and this one I'll admit gets to me, is fear of mistakes.
Oh, yeah. That can be paralyzing.
It is. Like, I freeze up thinking about making a mistake. So what does the guide say about that?
Well, it's all about a mindset shift. Mistakes aren't failures. They're like stepping stones, proof you're learning,
I love that. Takes the pressure off because honestly, who's perfect?
Nobody. The guide uses this analogy of learning to ride a bike. You're going to wobble, maybe fall, but each time you get back on, you're getting better.
Yeah.
Language is similar. Every mistake means you're pushing your boundaries. That's where the magic happens.
Okay, feeling pumped already. We've got the why, busted some myths. Now for the fun part, those game-changing techniques to make learning not just bearable, but enjoyable. What's the guide got for us?
Buckle up, because it's about to get interesting. So the guide jumps into these practical tips to stay motivated. And, it all starts with something that seems obvious, but we often miss it. Setting clear goals.
Ugh, goals. Isn't that like generic self-help stuff? I feel like I hear that everywhere.
Yeah.
I hear ya, but the guide gets specific. It's not just learn English. It's about how to set goals for language learning using frameworks that work.
Frameworks. Okay, now I'm curious. Give me the deets.
So they talk about short-term and long-term goals, which makes sense, but it goes deeper, like using the SMART goal method.
SMART goals, I've heard of those, but how's that language specific?
Instead of become fluent, which is super vague, a SMART goal could be learn 10 business English words every day for a month and use them in practice conversations twice a week.
Whoa, that's way more concrete. I can actually picture that. It's like actionable.
Exactly. And that's what keeps us motivated, seeing those small wins,
Totally.
Yeah.
Makes sense. The guide also talks about making learning fun, which we touched on earlier with that whole cultural connection thing.
Right. Because if it feels like a chore, you're going to quit.
100%. So how do we tap into that enjoyment factor, make it feel less like study and more like, I don't know, playtime?
Well, they suggest using your passions, Instead of forcing yourself to read boring textbooks, immerse yourself in English content you actually enjoy.
So like guilt-free Netflix binging. Sign me up.
Exactly. Think about your favorite shows, movies, music, YouTube, all that can be learning, sneaky learning, but it works.
Love it. But what about if I'm not quite ready to watch a whole movie in English without subtitles? Baby steps, right?
Totally. They got you covered. Start with something familiar, a show you've already seen in your native language, put on the English subtitles, and boom.
You're learning without realizing it.
Right. Because you already know the story, you can focus on the language itself.
That's so smart. And as you get better, ditch the subtitles. Just enjoy the show.
And don't forget music and podcasts. Great for training your ear, picking up slang, the real life stuff.
Which, hey, that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
See, you're already learning just by listening.
Exactly. But we can take it up a notch. Remember that active listening thing. It's not just about letting the sounds wash over you.
Yeah, it's like engaging with it, right? What were those specific techniques again?
So taking notes while listening, jot down new words, phrases, or summarize what you've heard in your own words. It's like a mental workout.
Brain gains. Love it. But let's be real. Life's busy. How do we actually fit in consistent practice? I feel like I'm always saying, I'll do it tomorrow.
That's where micro-learning comes in. The guide is all about it. Instead of needing huge chunks of time, it's about using those little moments we all have.
Micro-learning. Gimme those mini hacks.
Okay, so imagine instead of scrolling social media on your commute, you listen to an English podcast. Or while you're waiting in line, you review flashcards on your phone.
It's like sneaking in learning without even trying.
Exactly. It's about being intentional with those little bits of time we usually waste.
Mind blown. And speaking of things that are everywhere these days, what about those language learning apps? Are they legit or just fancy games?
They can be super helpful, especially for building vocabulary and grammar. Plus, that gamified element keeps things fun, right?
But how do we avoid just clicking through mindlessly, not really absorbing anything?
It's all about being strategic. Don't treat them as a quick fix. Use them to reinforce what you're learning elsewhere, like from reading or conversations.
So it's finding that balance between structured learning and just immersing yourself in English, right?
Bingo. And speaking of immersion, the guide gets pretty wild with it, suggesting ways to make English a part of your daily life without even thinking about it.
Ooh, tell me more.
One of the simplest but most effective. Change your phone and computer settings to English. Boom, you're navigating menus, reading notifications, all in English.
Sneaky. It's like tricking your brain into thinking in English.
Totally. They also suggest going beyond just watching and listening, get involved in online communities, follow English-speaking influencers, real-life exposure.
So it's like a holistic immersion, bringing English into your digital world.
Exactly. But what about those who are ready to level up, go beyond the basics, really refine those skills? The guide has some advanced tricks up its sleeve. Yeah, for those ready to really dive in, the guide has this section called Advanced Techniques for Improvement. And it all starts with, oh boy, the one that makes most people nervous?
Mm-hmm.
Speaking?
Ugh, yeah, tell me about it. I used to get, full-on panic attacks thinking about speaking English.
It's a big hurdle for sure, but the guy, it kind of reframes it. It's not about being perfect. It's about realizing speaking practice is like the key to unlocking fluency.
Makes sense, I guess, because you can read and understand, but actually talking is a whole other piece.
Right. It's putting all those pieces together, thinking on your feet. It's where the rubber meets the road.
Okay, so speaking is important. Got it. But how do we actually get better without, dying of embarrassment? Any baby steps we can take?
They suggest language exchange groups, finding other learners who are also practicing.
Ooh, so it's like misery loves company.
Kinda. But it's more about creating this safe space, No judgment. Everyone's in the same boat.
I like that. Takes the pressure off. Any specific places to find these language buddies?
They mentioned some online platforms like Tandem and HelloTalk. They connect you with people worldwide. You can text, voice call, even video chat, whatever you're comfortable with.
That's cool. So it's like having pen pals, but for speaking practice.
Exactly. And another tip, this one might feel awkward, but it's super helpful. Recording yourself speaking.
Oh, no, not the dreaded self-recording. I always cringe listening back.
I know, right? But it's like having a mirror for your speech. You can hear those little things you might not notice otherwise, like pronunciation, fluency, all that.
Okay, so maybe it's worth the cringe. It's like having a personal coach, but cheaper.
Exactly. And once you've tackled speaking, there's the ever-growing beast of vocabulary.
Ugh, don't even get me started. I learn new words and then they just disappear. Poof, gone.
So relatable. But the guide has some tricks for making those words stick, going beyond just memorizing. It's about really understanding and using them.
So no more flashcards.
Well, flashcards can be helpful, but they suggest taking it a step further, using new words in context, creating your own examples, making them personal.
So instead of just reading a definition, I got to make up a whole sentence with it.
Exactly. They even had this challenge. Learn 5 new words each day and then come up with one sentence using all 5. It's like a brain teaser.
Ooh, I like a challenge. Makes it more fun than just, staring at a word list.
Right. It's about engaging with the language, playing with it.
Love it. Speaking of engaging, what about listening? It always feels so passive, but the guide dedicates a whole section to it.
Because it's super important. Listening is the foundation. It's how we absorb everything, vocab, grammar, even cultural stuff.
True. We talked about active listening earlier, but they suggest applying it beyond just podcasts, right? What else did they mention?
Audiobooks, documentaries, even news broadcasts. The key is choosing stuff you're interested in so you actually pay attention.
Engaged learning, always the theme. And remember those notes we talked about? What about when we hear a word and we're like, wait, what was that?
It's going to happen. Don't sweat it. They emphasize focusing on the overall meaning, not getting hung up on every single word. You can always rewind, listen again. It'll click eventually.
Patience, young Padawan.
Ah!
Okay, we've covered speaking, vocab, listening, and now for the one I always dread, writing.
Ugh, yeah, the dreaded writing practice. But the guide makes it less scary. They present it as a creative outlet, a way to really solidify what you've learned.
I'm more of a talker than a writer. Any suggestions for easing into it without, having a meltdown?
They suggest starting a journal, nothing fancy, just write about your day, your thoughts, whatever. It gets you comfortable with putting those English words on paper.
So, a brain dump, But in English.
Exactly. It gets you thinking in English, practicing grammar naturally.
Okay, I can handle that. But for those ready for more, what are some next-level writing challenges?
They encourage gradually expanding, from journaling to maybe short stories, emails, even participating in online forums, stuff that interests you.
So it's finding ways to make writing fun, not just a chore.
Exactly. It's all about integrating it into your life, making it enjoyable.
Love it. Wow, we covered a ton today, from the why of learning English to all these practical tips. My brain's kind of fried, but in a good way.
It's a lot to take in, but that's the beauty of this guide. It emphasizes making the journey fun. It's not about cramming or perfection. It's about finding what works for you.
Totally. It's about those little victories, understanding a song, ordering food confidently, or just connecting with someone in their language. Those are the magic moments.
The guide has this quote that sums it up perfectly. Success is the sum of small efforts, repeated day in and day out.
Consistency is key, right? It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up, taking those small steps, and over time, those steps lead to amazing things.
You got it.
Well, this deep dive has been incredible, but it's just the beginning. There's a whole world of English learning out there waiting for you to explore.
So go out there and conquer.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a question. Now that you have all these tools, what's one small action you can take today to keep that momentum going? Maybe watch a show with subtitles, learn some new words, anything. Just take that step and remember, you're capable of incredible things. Until next time, happy learning.
All right, so we're diving into these awesome English speaking tips. And guess what? We're going to use storytelling to help you guys get there. I've been really digging through all these tips, and some of them are so cool. Did you know that simply narrating your day, even just making breakfast or walking the dog, can make a huge difference? There's this story about Jane, who was super shy about speaking, but she started doing that, just narrating her day, and her fluency just took off.
You know, it's funny, we often underestimate how powerful just those everyday activities can be. For language learning, it's all about creating a consistent habit of thinking and speaking in English.
Yeah. I used to struggle with this whole think in English thing. I'd be translating everything in my head before I could even say a word. It was exhausting. And my conversations just felt so clunky. What are some ways to actually shift your thinking into English mode?
Well, that's a common challenge. One really effective technique is to start small. So instead of trying to translate entire sentences, just focus on single words or short phrases. For example, when you see a cat, just think cat in English, not your native language. And then as you get more comfortable, gradually increase the complexity. Another helpful tip is to use visual aids. So surround yourself with English labels, posters, even sticky notes. This constant visual reminder will kind of just nudge your brain to start thinking in English.
So it's like training your brain to make those automatic connections, right? Instead of going through that extra translation step.
Exactly. And speaking of training, the source material really emphasizes the importance of daily practice, even if it's just for 10 or 15 minutes. The key is consistency. Think of it like working out a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
And this story about Raj totally proves your point. He was really focused on improving his pronunciation. So he started imitating the dialogue from his favorite movies, paying attention to the actor's intonation and everything. And guess what? It totally worked. He started to sound so much more natural and fluent.
You know what Raj was doing was actually quite clever. He was intuitively tapping into the power of mimicry, which is a fundamental aspect of language acquisition. When we imitate native speakers, we're not just copying sounds, we're absorbing the subtle nuances of the language, the rhythm, the stress patterns, even the emotional tone.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's like when we learn our first language as babies, we're constantly mimicking what we hear around us. So why not apply that same principle to learning English?
Exactly. And this leads us to another crucial point that's emphasized in the source material: learning phrases, not just isolated words.
Okay, this is something I've heard before, but honestly, I never fully understood why it was so important. Can you explain a bit more about the benefits of learning phrases instead of just memorizing individual words?
Sure. So when we learn phrases, we're not just acquiring vocabulary, we're also grasping how words work together. In natural flowing speech, for example, instead of just learning the words give and hand, we learn the phrase, could you give me a hand? This teaches us the grammatical structure, the idiomatic usage, and the natural rhythm of the language.
Ooh, so those common phrases become building blocks for conversations. It's much more efficient than trying to piece together individual words in the moment.
Exactly. Imagine trying to build a house brick by brick. Versus using prefabricated walls, phrases are those prefabricated walls of language. They help you communicate more fluently and naturally. The source even gives some great examples, like "What's up?" or "How's it going?"
You know, I never thought of it that way. That's actually a really helpful analogy. So instead of getting bogged down with individual words, we should focus on those everyday phrases and how they're used in context. That's a fantastic takeaway for our listeners.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is you encounter these phrases all the time. In movies,
Yeah.
music, and everyday conversations. Start paying attention to them, write them down, and practice using them
Yeah.
in your own interactions.
Yeah. I love that. All right, so we've talked about the importance of thinking in English, practicing consistently, and learning phrases. But let's get even more practical. This source has a whole section on using stories to improve fluency. And I have to admit, I was a little skeptical at first, but then they started talking about visualizing the story and really bringing it to life with details. And it clicked for me. I actually tried it with the sample story they gave about a weekend hike. And it was amazing. I felt like I was reliving the experience as I was telling the story in English. Do you find that using your senses helps you remember things better when you're learning a language?
Absolutely. Our brains are wired to remember things that are like emotionally charged and sensory rich. So when you actively engage your senses while you're telling a story in English, like the sights, sounds, smells, you're creating those stronger neural connections, making it much easier to recall the vocabulary and the grammar. It's like turning your brain into a high-definition movie studio.
I love that analogy. It makes so much sense. And speaking of making things stick, this source also recommends recording yourself speaking English. Oh, I used to cringe when I would listen back to my early recordings. But it really helped me pinpoint areas where I needed to improve. It was like having a personal language coach in my pocket.
Yeah, such a valuable tool
Yeah.
for self-assessment. You can hear your pronunciation, your intonation, the overall flow of your speech. You might notice things you weren't even aware of, like maybe using filler words too often or speaking too quickly.
Oh, totally. I used to say and like all the time. But hearing it back on a recording made me so much more conscious of it. And over time, I was able to break those habits.
Exactly. It's all about becoming aware of
Yeah.
your own speech patterns and then making those conscious efforts to improve.
Yeah, for sure. You know, another thing that really stood out to me in these tips was the power of asking questions. It seems so simple,
Yeah.
but it's such an effective way to keep conversations flowing and build your confidence.
Asking questions not only demonstrates like your engagement, but it also encourages the other person to share their thoughts and experiences. It kind of takes the pressure off of you to constantly come up with things to say, and it creates a more dynamic and engaging interaction.
Right. And they suggest using those open-ended questions like, what do you think about? Or
Yeah.
how is your seat? Which is a great tip. Those kinds of questions invite more detailed responses and
Wow.
give you more opportunities to listen and learn.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions. If you don't understand something, native speakers are usually happy to explain or rephrase things. It shows that you're actively listening and you're eager to learn.
Absolutely. It's all about showing genuine interest and engaging with the conversation. Okay, one last tip from this section that I found really intriguing: expanding your vocabulary with context.
Yeah, learning new words in isolation can be a bit like trying to memorize a phone book. It's dry and it's difficult to retain. But when you encounter words in context, within sentences and stories, they come alive. They suddenly have meaning and purpose.
Yeah, they give the example of the word serene used in the sentence. The lake was serene, surrounded by mountains. And it's so true. You can instantly picture the scene and understand the feeling the word is trying to convey.
Exactly. The sentence provides clues to the meaning of the word serene. You can infer that it describes a peaceful, calm, and tranquil atmosphere. And that visual imagery helps cement the word in your memory.
Okay, so I've always kind of found the idea of role-playing a bit intimidating, but this source makes a really compelling case for it. They say it's like a dress rehearsal for real-life conversations, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's like a safe space to experiment, make mistakes, and build your confidence. Think about those situations where you might feel a little nervous using English, like ordering food, asking for directions, making a phone call. Role-play those scenarios can really help you feel more prepared and less anxious when you actually encounter them in real life.
Right. They even provide this example scenario of ordering at a cafe. Want to give it a try?
Sure.
Okay, so imagine I'm the customer and you're the barista. Okay, I'm feeling brave.
I'm going to go for it. Hi there. I'd love to try one of your lattes. What would you recommend?
Okay, welcome to our cafe. We have a variety of delicious lattes. Do you prefer something sweet, or are you looking for more of a classic flavor?
I'm feeling adventurous today. What's your most unique latte?
Let's see. Our lavender honey latte is a customer favorite. It's a beautiful balance of floral and sweet notes.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I'll have that, please.
Excellent choice. One lavender honey latte coming right up.
See?
Yeah.
That wasn't so bad. I actually felt pretty comfortable using those phrases and responding in real time.
Yeah. And the more you practice, the more natural it'll become. You can even involve like friends or family members in your role plays to make it even more fun and interactive.
That's a great idea. It kind of turns language practice into a game almost. Okay, so the source also talks about the benefits of joining English-speaking communities. And they share this really cool story about Ahmed, who joined an English-speaking book club. Not only did his speaking improve, but he also made new friends and expanded his cultural horizons.
Yeah. Ahmed's story really highlights like the social and emotional benefits of language learning. You know, it's not just about grammar and vocabulary. It's about connecting with people, sharing experiences, and broadening your perspectives.
It's about finding your tribe, those people who share your passion for the language and can support you on your learning journey.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is there are so many different types of communities out there, like book clubs, hiking groups, online forums, language exchange partners.
So think about your interests, your hobbies, your goals. What kind of community would you feel most comfortable in, most engaged in?
Yeah, the key is to find a space where you can use English authentically and connect with people who share your passions.
Well, this brings us to the end of our deep dive into these incredible English speaking tips. I have to say, I've learned so much from going through all these sources with you.
It's been a pleasure exploring these techniques together. Remember, the most important thing is to enjoy the process, embrace the challenges, celebrate those victories, and never stop exploring the beautiful world of language.
Yes. And for all of you listening out there, remember that fluency comes one step at a time. Keep practicing, keep experimenting, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself. Until next time, happy speaking.